p.m. Eastern Time. CrossFire. Here we go. What a show we got for you guys tonight. What an amazing panel. Great turnout already. I saw you guys kind of sneaking in here last minute. I see Lord Metroid was here a bit ago. Shout out to the great Rob Jones. I'm going to give Rob Jones a shout out in a second. Great to see Rob here. Robert Smith as well. JC 2013. You guys are all fantastic for being here. Silent Merc's been here since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I appreciate that, Silent Merc. Playing some video games, talking to me while I'm setting up the room. RPG, your boy Roy. Guys, listen, go ahead and tweet it out. Let everybody know that we are live. We got a great show, a lot of topics. And listen, last week, the week before, I think I had like 9 or 10 topics. Tonight, we have 12. You know that means we'll get to about 1.5 of them. Okay? All right, you guys at least know the over-under. You guys place your bets. Do what you got to do. That being said, guys, let me know how the audio is. I want to say shout out to WRZ Cup, who will be listening to the show on Saturday. He writes me every Saturday. He goes, Mooch, your voice is low. So I made some corrections. I got a feeling I might be a little too loud. So if I'm a little too loud, let me know. Now I can make the adjustments. I couldn't do it the other day. Now we can make adjustments. But guys, while you're all shuffling in and calling family members and friends, letting them know that Crossfire's live, if you'll hit that like button, consider hitting that subscribe button. I've really got that itch now. Now that we're in full-fledged gaming season right now. Games are coming out 2-3 a week, it feels like at this point. I do want to do a couple of videos. They're not going to be long. You know, they may be a couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 8 minutes. If I really get long-winded, 10. But I really want to start getting more content onto the channel. And I also do have another show I'm working on behind the scenes, but it's a little too early to talk about it. Maybe about a week or two out before I can really get into it. Lord Metroid says, so you sound good. Audio's good so far. Guys, you are the eyes and ears of this show, so I appreciate that to the chat. I do want to say, if you'll take a second, look at that outstanding description. Look at that description down there. Every period right where it's supposed to be. I think everything's capitalized correctly and punctuation's there. If you guys will look right above, that's the join button. That's all those guys that are in green in the chat. They went ahead and subscribed to the Mooch Maniac family members, and it means the world to me. It helps the channel immensely. Immensely. Just to take a minute here, I will say hello and thank you again to the great Rob Jones. You guys can see him. He's in the chat. Rob, graciously this week, he just hits me up and says, Mooch, I got a code for you. And he throws me an Assassin's Creed Mirage code. And I said, buddy, thank you so much. I said, I'm literally buying like 2-3 games a week here at this point. And he literally throws me that code and says, here you go. And then he goes, I got a surprise for you coming down the road with Spider-Man 2. This guy's just, he's above and beyond. You know, channels this size, we don't get a lot of review codes. You know, we're not that big. So really to get a code like that and to be able to enjoy a game and then be able to talk about it tonight, and you'll see some gameplay footage that we'll have in the background while we're all discussing different subjects here. I have to take a minute and say thanks to Rob, because it's a lot of you guys out there that help this channel grow and make it what it is. So that being said, let me go through this list of outstanding people and thank them one by one. The great Sir X-Man, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, True Witty, Alfonso Carter, Brap, who you're going to hear from, Jamie, Damien, Jimmy Harrison, pardon me, the great Jimmy Harrison, who's here with us, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, who's going to be joining us next week, Ham Solo 05, Rob Jones, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Passive Prophet, Lord Metroid, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archwar Angel, Biggity 08, Slow-Mo Backslap, shout out to Slow-Mo and Forte, who might be joining us in a little bit. Henry Heck, he's here in the chat as well. Silent Merc, Edward Jordan, great to have him as well. Our major Mooch Maniacs. 4-Star General is back home. Great to have him with us. AD, Truth Serum, RPG 88, your boy Roy who's here, Scolari Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming, Miko, Gaming with Persona, and Jay Bari, who are taking tomorrow off. And I even wrote them, I said, you guys enjoy the holiday weekend, but you will be missed. But guys, they go 11 a.m. Eastern every Saturday morning. That's how I start my Saturdays. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I might just be wandering around aimlessly from 11 to 1. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But nonetheless, the great Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, that guy Spinny, Brian B, a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniac, Shadow Assassin, Raji, Domino Zero, the Wise Old Gamer, and our honorable mentions. And I always say his name wrong, and he caught me on this. I still don't say it right. General Thad Ape. I don't think it's right. I don't think I'm saying it right. And I apologize, General. Supreme Samurai, Sonyverse, Julian Johnson. You guys come home. You're out there without food, water, or toilet. Please come back home. And our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. That, guys, is a phenomenal list of people, but we have a phenomenal panel for you guys. Some of these guys, it's 12 midnight, 1 a.m. in their respected areas. And I have to say thanks to them for being here tonight as well. Before we go to that, we'll go to the one and only. Listen, he does a brap sometimes 4 or 5 times a week. It depends on how high his blood pressure is. He just got doing a show. He's doing this show. Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Brap, you're back, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Mooch? Great to be back, man. Great to be back.
Absolutely.
Just wrapped up a brap rant and had you on Wednesday, which was great.
Yes.
And had Colin Moriarty on Tuesday on brap. So it's been a great week, man.
Has been a great week. Actually, great content over on the Brap Podcast channel over there. Outstanding. Brap, keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
We all appreciate it. Listen,
how about those Mets?
Well, we're not going to talk about that. That's just a Debbie Downer at this point, Brad. But listen, we will bring it back up in April when we are going to be World Series ready again. You know what I mean? It's step by step.
You always have the Giants, right?
No, not really. I can't win.
I know the feeling. We got our asses handed to us last night, so you know.
Oh yes. Oh, football. God bless it. Sports. All right, that being said, let's get into this outstanding panel we've got with us. The voice of reason is here tonight, and for more reasons than one. Usually we need him to calm down everybody, me included. But tonight he's really going to be on double duty with this list of topics I gave him. The great Eric Jackson is back. Eric, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Excuse me. Happy to be here. I think we figured it out, Mooch. What you have to do is you have to hit me up a few hours before the show.
Yes.
And then we don't run into any issues. You notice that?
I did notice that. I literally made a note. Right, Eric, 2 hours before show. Check. It's going to work. I think this is going to work.
Yeah, man.
Let's stop this.
I'm feeling good, man.
That's great. Let's stop this pre-planning. It's good to have you here, Eric. We're going to need you. And by all means, please chime in when you feel anything has gone astray. Please, Eric. We need that.
You got it, man.
Great to have you here. Listen, doing 2 weeks in a row, okay? This is a big deal. We don't usually get a chance to have a special guest on twice in a row. But it's great to have the great Death Singer with us again tonight. And I thought, I'm reading over my topic. It's middle of the day. And I say, there's a lot of things that are going to be a bit controversial, things to talk about. And he is not fearful of any of it. Death Singer, welcome back to the show, buddy. Great to have you. How you doing tonight?
Thank you for having me, Mooch. I'm just wondering how long it takes before this podcast is remastered.
I guess
but yeah, it should be a good show, good topics, good panel. So it's always a fun time.
I appreciate it, Singer. And that was, we're looking to get remastered sometime around tomorrow afternoon, when they'll finally allow us to put like commercials. YouTube's doing all kinds of different things with that. Who knows what's happening? But Singer, great jab there. Well, you can. I love it. Then I've got my buddy here, and I want to introduce him because I don't know how long we have him. He may have to go to work. I'm hoping to God that the call I made and put in, I said, listen, he can't go. He just can't do it. They're like, who the hell are you? I said, don't worry about it. The great Gamer's Gamut is back, buddy. He talks games. He knows what he's talking about. Gamut, how you doing this evening?
Good, brother. How you doing, man? Nice to be here. Glad I could join in on this conversation tonight.
Oh, buddy, it's going to be one hell of a conversation. I see a bunch of you guys out in the chat, too. By the way, Sarge, I can't remember who it was out there. What is he? He says, Sarge, he goes, Mooch, you've been saying you give us content for years. I believe it when I see it. And you should hold me to the fire. You should hold me to the fire. Shame on me. I need to get more content out there. So shout out to all the chat members out there that have been waiting. Please do, guys, tweet it out, hit that like button, let everybody know that we are live. This is also a treat because I didn't think we'd see this gentleman until 7:30, 8 o'clock. You know how it goes. Worry Wart is back on the channel. This is a treat for me because I got to podcast with him twice this week already. Worry, how you doing this evening, buddy? I know that you said you may not get here till 7:30, but I'll take a 7:10 show up any day I can get it.
Yeah, I managed to make it. So hopefully I can hang in there as long as you guys do. I think you do like 4-hour podcasts now, right? That's the new podcast rule. Everybody has to do like 72-hour podcasts.
Yes.
There's my cat howling in the background. You hear that?
I do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what happens when you have an ancient cat.
I love it, though. It's great. That's great. There's cat people, there's dog people. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I think it's phenomenal. Let the cat listen in, please, Worry. And honestly, we will keep it below. Well, let me just say 2 hours. I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. It won't be below 2, but we won't go 3. I promise. And I can't go 3 because of this next guest. He's over there in Sweden. He's waited all day to be on this show. I'm kind of exaggerating a bit, but nonetheless, the great Pio, you guys know him. He's had his Sony burger today. He's had his PlayStation Red Bull. He's fired up. We've got a lot of great topics. I'm going to put him on the hot seat in a minute. But Pio, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I had a lot of food today, a lot of caffeine today, and I'm feeling ready to do this podcast right now.
Okay, well, great. You know what, Pio? Listen, I'll go ahead and start with you first here, right? Because I want to get you all amped up. Now, we'll start kind of subtle. I see a couple people going, Mooch, you got to go right for the meat and potatoes. Don't give us any of that gravy. But listen, I'm going to save a couple of the hot topics for the middle of the show here. I want to get a couple of things out of the way real quick. Pio, so Forza Motorsport reviews are out, right? And, and it's a good score. Again, we've been saying this a lot of times now. This is a good score, so there's not any bashing to be done there. But some people are saying it's phenomenal. Some people are loving it. And some people are saying it's a bit of a step back. I follow you on Twitter. I'm not saying whether or not you're a Gran Turismo fan or a Forza fan or even a racing car fan. But from what you've seen overall and what you've been reading, what was your overall take when it came to the Forza Motorsport review and what you're seeing on all kinds of different tech analysis that have been going on through Digital Foundry, etc., on YouTube and Twitter?
I mean, the game looks, from a visual standpoint, at least from what I saw from the few video clips I saw, the game looks good. I'm not going to act like I am an expert at the car games, but I do enjoy GT7 a bit, and I do enjoy the other Forza games, the Horizon games.
Yes.
So Motorsports I've never been a fan of either, but I mean, it's a great score. Like, if you enjoy racing games, I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. Like, I'm not sure like why people... Like, the thing about Twitter is, like, in the normal world, right? If you see a score like 8.5 or 8.4 or whatever, that's a great score. I just... There's this bubble that thinks that everything has to be 90 or more to be like this big rating or whatever it's called. But yeah, I don't think so, and I don't really follow the comparisons. I'm pretty like sure if I just Google it, like search on Twitter comparisons, a lot of gonna be made, right? So between the GT and Forza, but yeah, I mean, good for a studio. I hope people enjoy it, and I have not played it. I don't plan on playing this, but I did play the Horizon game though. The Forza Horizon game. Those I will play, but Motorsport is a bit too much for me.
Well, as you can see, I did something unfair. I put Pio in the hot seat, and I knew that, Pio. I follow. I know what you kind of like and don't like just from what you tweet out on a day-to-day basis. But let me ask the panel, is anybody playing Forza? Is anybody a Forza or GT7 fan? I want to just kind of get a read. Singer, I knew I was going to get a hand up from you. Singer, real quick. So have you played Forza Motorsport? Are you waiting for it to hit Game Pass next week? And basically, part B of the question would be, what do you think of what you're seeing, the good, the bad, or some of the ugly on some of the reviews?
Played it. Playing it currently, because I absolutely adore Forza. But they did make some missteps. Now, I know they rebuilt the engine and remade the game from the ground up, so we were anticipating it. You know, this is Forza's grand return. Now, they made some missteps. They have said the patch for the color things coming through, but that seems to be the only really major misstep. Was that color wash? But on PC, I haven't had that issue. Okay. And some people I chill in the Discord with, they're playing on PC. And obviously, you know, you could crack up all the settings. You played at 60 FPS. You're going wild. But overall, it is a great return. The actual mechanics of the cars, they feel better. Some of the models do look like they weren't updated. Like, some of the models look brand new. Some of the models look like they're the original models that they've been using for a while.
Yes.
There's some little subtle things. Some racetracks don't look exactly like the trailer, so they made some, I would imagine, concessions across, the board on the game, but the ray tracing, that pops. So they did overall a good job, and an 83 is a little lower than I thought it would be. But I mean, I thought it was going to be about an 85, so it's nearly there. An 83 is near 85, but it's still a great score. And Forza fans, I know it's the least popular of the Forza games. Horizon is currently more popular than Motorsport, understandably. It's way easier for not racing fans to get into. But if you're a fan of Motorsport, it's a great game.
Well, so I'm glad you kind of said that. There was a few things And I'll go to E here. You know, E, we've talked about this for multiple weeks in a row, various different games. And I'm just bringing it up because it does come up on Twitter. It does come up in some articles. It does come up in news. And this is a series that's taken many years off, Eric. They used to do these things every other, right? It used to go Horizon, Motorsport. They took a while off. And I actually pat them on the back. By all means, take as much time as you need to make an amazing game. And again, I'm new to coming into this. I'm actually looking forward to trying Forza. I won't be able to play Forza till, of course, Monday. I believe it's Monday or Tuesday when it comes to Game Pass. I'll try it out because I have been playing a lot of GT7. This is the first year that I've played it. Now, I will say, you guys know this. I know, and a lot of people in the chat have been following me for almost a decade. Like this, neither of those games are my top 10, right? But I will say, E, that GT7 has made a tremendous leap in my like column because of the PSVR 2. I don't play GT7 just with the controller on the couch. I put the headset on. I got the wheel. Shout out to J-Dub again. J-Dub's like, Mooch, you got to get this wheel. I got the wheel. I got the setup. I put the headset on. It is an experience, Eric. So I'm not going to judge Forza against that. That's not a fair judge. But when it comes down to it, some of the things that like you hear even Singer say, which I give Singer credit for, he said, the car models, some of the things with the washed out, was it the washed out textures or
It was the color on the console specifically. It seems to be there's a problem with the color. I can't remember what the correct terminology for it is.
Okay,
but they've acknowledged it and they're releasing a patch for it.
Okay, so I mean, when it comes, and Singer, thank you for that. I appreciate the clarification. But E, real quick question for you is this: we see this kind of happen, and we're going to get into it later. Redfall got a patch today. That came out in May. They got the patch, and the patch I think has done some things, but now some analytics are coming out showing that it's still not great. But nonetheless, it seems like when it comes to Halo, it comes to Redfall, it comes to Forza, they're just like, you know what? Put the game out. We'll fix it later. And the reason really being for that is if you're a Game Pass customer, you've already paid for it. It's not like one of those things where you go, well, I got to go to the store or I'll wait for it to, it'll launch digitally and I'll wait for the review and then I'll buy it. They know that they already have the customer in the seat. Does that change things? That people are calling it the Game Pass effect. Do you think that this plays a role with now we're seeing, when it was the first time, Eric, me and you were like, well, it's only one, then it's only two. Well, it's only 3 games. And now it's 4. It becomes a trend. Do you think that this is what's happening internally where they say, we'll just patch it down the road, just put it in the service, let's go?
I think that's like a twofold thing, honestly, because they're also affecting people who pay for the early access. Now, it doesn't seem like the game is unplayable. And like, I'm like Pyle, like I don't really play simulation racers, so I'm only kind of watching what people are going back and forth about. So I'm seeing people throwing out downgrade. It's a downgrade, but Death Singer saying mostly seems like it's like a color issue that they have to fix or something like that. It's like minor stuff.
Yeah,
so I don't know. So, but as far as like, I don't know if this game is in as bad a shape as like we said, Redfall or even like Halo when that dropped. It doesn't seem to be. So as far as like the Game Pass effect or just get it pushed out, I think that's kind of the case with a lot of games these days. And again, I've always looked at it as gamers have nobody to blame but themselves, because what's the first thing people do when a game gets pushed out? It's not where it should be, but the money's already been taken and everything else. They don't agree with you. They don't say, well, as a gamer, like, hey, I'm not having an issue, but I can understand why you're having one. The first thing they do is, well, all games come out broken and all games need patches and all games, it's like the excuses are constantly made. So why wouldn't the companies do it?
Right. That's actually a really good point, E. That's a very good point.
So I agree with him. I think it's more of a, industry-wide issue at this point. I don't think you can just put it at the feet of Game Pass. It's so common.
Yeah. No, did somebody say Mooch? I didn't know if someone wanted to comment.
Yeah. I didn't want to step on anybody. Let me know when I can.
No, go where you go.
I was just going to say, I want to start off by saying, like, I'm not a fan of Baldur's Gate 3. I know it's a great game. I know that people love it. I'm just not a fan of that kind of game. However, when Baldur's Gate 3 released, if you notice, there were a bunch of developers and stories about how this is just a one-off. Don't expect this. This is an anomaly. And the reason you got that was because Larian managed to create a AAA game that was feature complete, that had no bugs, not a lot of bugs, came out that you spent $70 for without any microtransactions, and people loved it. That is not what most of these developers want you to expect. They want you to expect the fact that games are going to come out and have to be patched. They want you to expect the fact that they're not going to be feature complete, and they want you to continually spend money. That's why they were so against this game. I noticed that right away. Even though it's not a game for me, I appreciated the fact that the game came out completely polished. And it was so telling that all of these other developers and all of these other websites were making these stories about how this is just an anomaly. It's never going to happen. Don't expect it. Why shouldn't you expect a feature?
That was super weird, huh? That was that.
Right.
That was weird.
And I think that the internet is, if you were playing games before the internet, games came out and you got what you got. And primarily they were complete. Once the internet came and they started to use the internet to patch these things, it became a crutch.
Yep.
And I do think you're starting to see that now with services. It's another tier of let's just put things in it. We can fix them later based on the number of players. If the game comes out and has a lot of players, then we'll put our resources towards making it better. If the game comes out and it doesn't have a lot of players, we'll put our resources somewhere else. So you see Redfall comes out, it's supposed to be 60. It's Microsoft's fault. They put the stickers on the box that say 30. Now it's 60. I've played it today. Very smooth. Fantastic. It is 60 frames per second. However, every other issue that the game had when it launched is still there. There are still bugs. There's still texture loading. There's still pop-in. It's all still there. So I feel like, you're not supposed to expect complete games.
Right.
And it doesn't make any sense to me, which is why, as somebody who doesn't like CRPGs, I purchased Baldur's Gate, just not for me. But I love the fact that Larian essentially said, fuck you to the industry, and here's a game, and here's how to do it. Here's how to make a feature-complete AAA game for $70 that people can buy, play, expect to have a great experience with, and then move on without having to nickel and dime them.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, they did have extra impetus to make sure, because they kind of bet the entire studio on it. If this game flopped, Larian was gone. It'll be over.
But that doesn't mean that.
No, but that's extra pressure. No. That's just extra pressure to make sure you put your best foot forwards, and they did. Also, it's been in early access for a few years, relying on player feedback. We've been giving them, do this quest, maybe change up the character. This is a bit buggy, fix this out. So, of course, they've been taking the feedback, as all good studios should. Take your player feedback, and lo and behold, we have a master-crafted Game of the Year game.
Right, but that's something all of these studios can do. So, for instance, if you watch the interview that Phil Spencer gave about Redfall, he said that internally they have mock reviews, and they were double digits higher for Redfall than the actual scores were. And my question would be, who reviewed the game internally? Who played the game? Were there play testers? Because within the first 15 minutes of playing Redfall at launch, I'm not a developer. I've never made a game, but I've played games for a long time. The game was completely broken in terms of like the bugs and the texture loading. Like, how did you not see that when you were play testing this game? So if Larian Studios can do this, if they can put a game into early access, if they can take all of that feedback, if they can internally use all that information to make the product better and launch it in a state that it's in, why can't these trillion-dollar companies like PlayStation, Sony, why can't PlayStation, Microsoft, why can't they do it? Or these developers that just want money?
It's bottom line. Like a lot of the decisions that are made in terms of releasing games, like you said, where maybe that aren't up to snuff for release, it comes down to the bean counters, the people that are in charge of the financials that are like, okay, we had a point where we need to start making money back now. We can't afford, we don't want to go over budget. You never want to do that. So that's why, Larian, not in that similar situation, but also to Death Singer's point, had the luxury of doing early access for quite some time where they were getting, a lot of player feedback. That would be ideal if they could do that. I mean, we've heard about Nintendo, the story with Tears of the Kingdom. The game was ready to go a year ago, but they didn't release it because they took the extra year to. Well,
how about Metroid? How about Metroid Prime 4? I mean, the studio that wasn't Retro developing it was like a year and a half into it. They walk in there, they look at it, and they say, "Get out, throw it away, and start over." Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think that ideally that would be great, but I think there's just dynamics,
especially with services. Why can't you slide a game into a service and let people essentially test it for you for free?
Yeah.
Well, some people in the chat, just to get the chat out, the chat's having a good conversation here too. Shout out to the great Jeff Grubb. Jeff Grubb's on vacation, but he spent time here. It's a big honor. Appreciate Jeff being here. Jeff goes, don't forget, in Baldur's Gate 3, Act 3, he said was very buggy and a mess. But, you know, and a few people are commenting saying that's true. That may be the case, but I guess my question...
Yeah, Act 3 had some issues, yeah.
Act 3 had some issues. I guess my question would be, you know, reviewers played this. It's a third party, so this is not a PlayStation Xbox conversation. And they gave this game a very, very high rating. So, I mean, so is the review... So I guess, Jeff, and I'm asking you, Jeff, just because you're in the business, is this where there's a problem on the review side of things? Or is this, you know what I mean? Or is it more of a problem with the developers putting out games that are not ready for us to purchase, play, and enjoy? It's a question that I've been asking for a long time. And maybe there's no right or wrong. It's just what you think. So, Jeff, if you have anything,
I think they're front loaded. You know, they did the bugs front loaded because that's where most people are. You know, during the review process, most people are in the front 75% of the game. So they front loaded their bug fixes. And then also, if I recall correctly, those review outlets didn't get anywhere near enough time to even finish. Like most of those reviews weren't even done with the game yet.
Yeah, and Mooch, regarding bugs, I mean, mathematically speaking, it's impossible to have zero bugs. Like every game has bugs. I think the difference is, like, especially when you have millions of lines of code, you're always going to have bugs. The issue is that sometimes you don't see those bugs. That being said, though, I mean, obviously there's bugs that are more pronounced than others. And so with reviews, I think it's a matter of, you know, are these bugs, how do they affect the overall gameplay experience? Do they take away from it? Do they break immersion? I think in some instances, yes, that's the case, where we see bugs where they break the immersiveness of games or make games unplayable. Other instances where those games, yeah, there are bugs there, but the overall experience of those games outweigh the bugs that are present. So I think that's what probably goes into some of those reviews. I mean, Jeff will probably have a better insight to that, but I think that's part of what we see when we see games that review well but have noticeable bugs.
Problem now is with the, like, you look at all the broken games. Jedi Survivor came out.
Yep, good example.
Horrible.
Yes,
Cyberpunk came out. Horrible. Who authorized? It was the people above the developers who wanted to get. Do you really think the developers at CD Projekt Red wanted that game to release then?
No, I don't believe that.
I'm guaranteeing you the answer will be no. Yeah, it's out of their hands.
They took so much of that blame, which is not right, you know?
Yeah,
but
that's the problem. You have overlords at these big EA, Ubisoft. Your overlords are going to tell you, right, that's it, game out now.
Let me play devil's advocate real quick, because I happen to agree 100% with you. But just to play the other side of the coin, you know, it doesn't matter where you work. And Brap, you know, you big company like you do, you get this. When you have developers or artists, I think a lot of times the higher ups will say, how much time do you need? And they'll give a projected date, right? And then they'll say, listen, we need a little more time. And then they'll say, we need a little more time. But then in my last point, Brap, is maybe, I'm saying maybe, this has nothing to do with CD Projekt Red. Any of these developers, I agree with what Singer said. But at the end of the day, when you keep getting those bumps to the right, okay, eventually they're going to say, listen, this is the date. This is when you have to be finished. I have to put it out. We've given you so many delays internally. These are things we don't hear about. These are things that go on behind closed doors. So I will say, I do agree with Singer. I do agree with what we were saying, that it definitely is the higher ups that are pushing it out the door. The developers certainly would have liked more time. But at some point, they do have to deliver on their, whatever you want to call their milestone or their deliverable.
Yeah, there's milestones. There's definitely development milestones they have to hit. You have to do that. They have to hit those release dates. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm okay with this. I'm just trying to get people to understand, like, there's a dynamic to this that's just a reality, and it's unfortunate. And then the other thing is, look, I mean, Cyberpunk sold 13 million in a week. I mean, when it released. I mean, part of it's consumers too. Like as consumers, you gotta not buy these things if they're coming out in a bad state. You know, I didn't have the experience. Really, the issues of Cyberpunk were really mostly on console. I didn't have those issues. I played it on PC, as everyone should be playing video games on PC. Just throw that out there, Mooch.
Don't get worried, Star.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was able to play through Cyberpunk. I didn't have a lot of those issues. The issues I had were more,
I didn't have a lot of issues either at launch. I mean, they were there. I understand
even
it.
on the PS5, even on the PS5, it wasn't too bad. I had some crashing. That was about it.
The PS5 version, I had like 120 crashes going for the platinum. That was not.
Oh, that's I had crashes, not that many. That's wild.
Well, it
that's
was
wild.
every other hour, like every time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I do have a question about Forza, the singer. If we're still on Forza,
No, go ahead.
Now I am a car guy. I have been enjoying GT7 quite a bit. But I heard somebody complaining about the leveling up system. Do you know anything about that? Like they tied the leveling up system into individual cars now. So like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
If you get one car, then you want to switch, you have to start all over from zero.
It is. I don't know why they took the decision, because it's the whole car PG thing that I don't know who came up with that phrase, but it's dumb as fuck. But it's a leveling system for I understand what they're trying to do, but the execution is not there. Like if they fleshed it out more, maybe you could carry between brands or something. Because now, like, let's say I wanted. I don't know, let's take an Aston Martin DB9. Right? Cool. Now I have to spend all this time driving this car just to level it up. You are forcing me to do this. I don't want to do this, but now you're forcing me to do this. And it's limiting to a player having to stick with one. Now, if you love the car, okay, great, cool. Drive it for the rest of your life. But I like to dabble. I like to go around. So, of course, you have to start off at 0 on the cars, and then you have to level them up to unlock the upgrades. And it gets a bit tedious, and I don't know why they chose to make that decision, but it is what it is. It's probably something they should have rolled back.
I have a really quick question about it, too. I read that in endurance races, you can set the auto steer, auto gas, and auto brake and not do anything and just level up that way. Is that correct?
I haven't played around in the sense of that, because I never use any of that. I go manual, clutch, driving line, off. Like I go into as soon as I boot the game up, I went straight into the settings, changed everything. So okay. I haven't played around with it, any of those settings. So I couldn't tell you.
Sorry to jump in, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's
Kofi,
I have a question for you, Singer. About Forza, how do you feel about the penalty system? It was something I was really hoping was improved. I did see some online gameplay that I wanted to give some. There are some things I'm disappointed that what I've heard of Forza, but one thing I do like is if you are driving off the road unintentionally, the UI kind of identifies that you have multiple wheels on grass, but tells you that you're not going to be penalized for it. So to me, that was like, okay, that's a level of sophistication that they should have for many things, right? Like, oh, you might have tapped somebody else's bumper, but it's not a penalty. And getting that kind of feedback in a high stakes race is great, because sometimes I'll be in GT7, I don't know what happened, penalty, and then it takes me out of the race for 2 seconds. So did you notice anything better?
Yeah, they've made it real life. If you watch any motorsport, Formula 1, endurance racing, etc., like, you tap someone, they look at it. Let's say you took the corner too wide. Both wheels were on the grass. That's a penalty, because you are not racing on the track. And they will flag you for it. Now, stuff like F1 go to the extreme and hated for it, rightly so. But they made it so it more mirrors the real life rules, because they, it's like, oh, you smacked into someone, okay, cool, so you have to go in the pits for a minute, or if you do something in qualifying, you get penalized, you have to go back 10 places. So it penalizes people who just want to be trolls in races, or people who just don't understand, because for people like me, we're racing to win, but we're clean racing. You want there's nothing like having a close competitive race where there's 3 or 4 dudes, You're all equally as fast as each other, and you're just going to the limit. But you're not touching. You're getting close, but you're not touching. You're respecting everyone's space. So they did update the penalization system, and I think it's great. People may have different opinions.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, shout out to the people in the chat here. Shout out to King Thresh. He says, upgrade system designed for Game Pass retention. Maybe to keep people engaged longer. Is that something, Singer? Or no, make the game a little bit more accessible to more of a larger audience?
Wait, repeat that again?
I said, is it a chance that they've made it, King Thresh, an upgrade system designed for Game Pass retention to be able to keep people engaged longer to play who are not necessarily as much of a pro as you are in the game?
No, because I don't think it's for retention, because Forza has always done, and racing games have always done, you can free upgrade, right? So long as you've got the money, you can do whatever upgrades you want. Put a turbo on there, change the engine, change the drivetrain, whatever. But this system is not for retention. They want you to play with the car and get experience with the car, and then level it up, and then you unlock. And I understand what they're trying to do. Like RPG, it's an RPG mechanic, essentially, is what they're doing. And they're putting it on a race car, and it doesn't mesh well at all. Because all I want to do is upgrade the car the way I want it to, take it out on the racetrack, and go whoop some ass. But you're now forcing me to having to drive this particular car, and it's just limiting. So.
Well, I'll tell you.
What do you attribute that to this year with Forza? Like, there has to be a reason for it. I think a lot of people are thinking that the reason is because everything's designed under the umbrella of a subscription service. I don't know if that's true or not, but there has to be a reason for it.
Well, if you wouldn't use the leveling up for the subscription part, you'd use like the car passes, the season pass, etc., to keep people entertained. Plus, also they do like Forza monthly competitions, where if you get into like the top 1,000 fastest people in the world, you get a limited edition car that no one else can have. So they keep people engaged because they constantly run community. They're really good with running community events. And they understand the community, and they can retain them through that way. So I don't think it's nothing to do with Game Pass, because they always provide a lot of content, and they always know how to interact with their community. Turn 10 have been really good about that. I just think it was a system they put into the game to make it a bit more immersive experience, or whatever they thought they were up to, and it just didn't hit. It didn't hit the way they wanted it to.
See, I appreciate this conversation because I haven't got a chance to play Forza yet, and that's the other thing. I guess I want to move on. We have so many topics to discuss, but I guess I'll ask this question. It's rhetorical to the whole group here, but I'll shoot it to Singer first because he's playing the game. Singer, so I assume you paid, and I think you mentioned this last week. You paid the $100 to play the game early. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Yeah, every game I want to play, I buy full price.
Which, by the way, you have every right to do, and I hope you enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. But do you think that now we're seeing this trend happening more and more? You weren't on the show when we were talking about the last time this was an option, and it just seems like, I mean, you're seeing it with like the Vault Edition on Call of Duty. You're seeing it here. It happens on other types of games where you can play it 4 or 5 days early. You know, if you go back 10 years and you listen to a lot of the things we used to talk about on shows, we used to always really be concerned about, you know, the overspending and not necessary spending. Is this a situation where you think that like they're really taking advantage of the hardcore that want to play it? Because I mean, you want to play it. You're hardcore. You love the game. But this game, you have Game Pass, which you're already paying for. And now you didn't just pay the $60 or $70, you paid $100. And Singer, this isn't pointing at you. This isn't going to be the last game. There's going to be another 5 to 10 probably in the next 12 months.
I think all of their first party titles are going to do this, by the way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep, they've been doing it.
It's a good way to get some extra money out of.
I mean, when you're charging, when the barrier of entry is so low, you absolutely have to do things like that. In my opinion, like it's almost necessary.
The upgrade is smart because to the person who has Game Pass, you're not charging them $70, which is what the price of the game would be. You're saying pay $32, you get the full premium edition. You get all the add-ons, the car pass, the VIP, the expansions, everything, and we're asking you for $32. Now, they're monetizing the people who just want to play through Game Pass, because they'll be like, that's not a bad deal. Look, all the stuff you're getting for 30, even though you're still paying whatever you pay a month for Game Pass. But it looks like a deal. Now, obviously, people will pay for the premium because they want the best experience. They want all the add-ons. They want all the extra bells and whistles. Personally, that's why I do it. Like, I bought the Ultimate Edition of Diablo or whatever, and I haven't played the game for a while now, so I feel like I just wasted my money.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm hardcore, and I'm willing to pay that. Now, for the casual person who just has Game Pass, they're probably not going to be buying the Ultimate Edition, so this is a quick way to make an extra little bit of money off your subscribers. Which is actually smart, but...
Well, listen, it's as we always say, right? This is the generation of options. We used to say it on the channel all the time. This is the generation where you can have the air conditioning on and the windows down in the car. Not when I was growing up, but nonetheless, the options are out there. And it's like, thank you, Worry. I appreciate that.
You have to be old to get that.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone right now in the audience is like, so what's wrong with that? I do it all the time. Shout out, I don't usually go in reverse order here, but Wooden's Throne, he says, get ready for Alex's videos for fanboys defending the downgraded ray tracing on this Forza title. Throne, thank you very much. Shout out to Alex, by the way. We got to have Alex back on the show. I do want to switch over to subject, and I want to give a formal introduction to the great creative Kofi. Kofi, I know you had plans, so for you to pop in, I appreciate that. I really, really, truly do. I didn't expect that. It's a pleasant surprise. So, Kofi, welcome to the show, buddy. Thank you,
brother.
Here.
And yeah, glad to be here and excited to get into these topics. And I'll keep quiet for now. I'll talk more later.
Kofi, chime in whenever you want, buddy. I'm going to switch over and put Pyle. Pyle, listen, this is one of the things that's very interesting, right? So we've been following each other on Twitter for a while now, and listen, everybody knows that you're a PlayStation fan. I don't want to say PlayStation First fan. I don't want to speak for you, but I do want to say this news of Naughty Dog recently. We're going to switch over to the Naughty Dog news because I think a lot of people want to talk about it. A lot of people want to hear about it. So, and it was funny. I mentioned this to Pyle before the show. I promised I would tell. So, listen, take this with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter. Someone I know that works in the business, they said that it is on ice as far as factions goes, but it's not canceled. Now, will that be something that comes to fruition in the future? We'll find out. I personally, knowing the Neil Druckmann and the people that ever say good or bad about him in the industry, I never would truly think that somebody like him that worked that much on a single project would just scrap it. I could see it being delayed. Heck, we might not even see it till 2028. But I don't think it's canceled. But I will say this much, Pyle. We've had that discussion earlier in the week. And then today it leaked on LinkedIn. I love how LinkedIn is basically our games media these days.
It is.
So shout out to LinkedIn. Thanks, LinkedIn. Gives us hours and hours of podcasting information. They are saying now that we're going to be seeing a Last of Us Part 2 remake, right? And a lot of people are saying, of course, there's the bashing and the banter going on, but it's mainly because if this is true, which it seemingly is, they're releasing it on PC, and when they release it on PC, they're also going to go ahead and tidy everything up and give the PS5 folks an upgraded version as well. So, Pyle, where are you on the Naughty Dog under fire for the past 7 to 10 days, if not longer, if you see the disgruntled faction fans?
Well, I think there's some kind of issues over there because we're used to just knowing something they're doing. I do think Sony has changed the way they're approaching announcements. They're not, saying games, ahead of time, especially like Last of Us Part 2. I think that was announced like 3.5 years before release. And it was originally supposed to come out 2019 with the old team, but then, half the team quit or whatever after Uncharted 4 and all that issues started and all that stuff. I think it's unfortunate that faction still has to be this way. The only thing we know, because you remember that Jason Schreier he reported what happened at Naughty Dog with Bungie, everything. And then like an hour later or something, they came out with an official statement, which tells you like, oh yeah, what Jason said is basically true. That Bungie looked at the game and probably was like, oh, this was not good enough or not monetized enough or something. Mm-hmm. What I think it was is that last week we heard that when Jim was in charge, he's still in charge right now. He wanted a lot of PlayStation studios to do a gas game, right? Like a game as a service game. And I think Naughty Dog was definitely one of those studios where like they don't want to do that. So like their factions game, I think was more like the old factions, like maybe a co-op experience and a PvP experience, but not maybe monetized enough. So like they had to change the whole approach of it, which is, and with contractors, people leaving and coming and going all the time, that takes a lot of stuff and focus away. But I am happy. Like I just want to release. I don't care how it is. I just hope we see it one day because I feel like they made the first update on The Last of Us multiplayer game in 2019, right? Like a year before Part 2 came out. So it was over 4 years ago when they announced it, basically officially. Like, oh yeah, we're working on something multiplayer-wise, big multiplayer guys. And we have not seen a single official gameplay. Obviously, we saw some leaks with Part 2. But in terms of Part 2 remaster, here's what I think about it. I think we're going to get a director's cut. For people who remember back in 2021, there was a picture posted by someone where like they were shooting something at the studio, and a lot of people think it's Last of Us Part 2. Mm-hmm. And I think so too. I think it's going to do a director's cut. Oh, sorry about that. With a $20 DLC.
Okay. So you're saying that there may be some DLC that comes with this?
Yeah, sorry, I'm coughing a lot.
No, that's okay, Pyle. Actually, Pyle, I'll quote you here. You had a tweet out earlier about what Naughty Dog has given us as of the past decade. You said 2013, The Last of Us, 2014, Last of Us PS4 remaster, 2020, The Last of Us Part 2, 22, The Last of Us Part 1 PS5, 2023, Part 1 PC port, 2024, The Last of Us Part 2 remaster. Rumor, of course, right now, not confirmed. So and I while you got a chance to just catch your breath there. Now, what do you think that we would be getting some DLC with this? I mean, I would think they would have to offer, just because they have been doing so many of these now, and even me being the Last of Us fan that I am and have everything, I would actually like a director's cut or something like that for the PS5, so I could do a $10 upgrade. I don't know, you don't want to keep sinking things in. It depends. It's sinking money into the same game over and over again. Yeah, so Pyle, can you expand a little bit more on that DLC?
So I think it's going to be like Ghost of Tsushima, where like, let's say you have the PS4 version of Last of Us Part 2. You can upgrade to the PS5 version for $10, but then also they're going to add a $20 DLC you can buy separate, both for PS4 and PS5, just like Ghost of Tsushima had. Because like, what other reason is there to take over 3 years to port this game to PS5? Like Ghost of Tsushima was there in 1 year, and they removed the patch announcement from the official PlayStation channel, if you remember that, the 60 frames, because Last of Us Part 2 is patched for PS5, 60 frames. They removed that video. It had millions of views, like 5-6 million views. They removed that. So
I don't
know. What's the like? Think about it. What would be the reason to make just a port to PS5? Why does it take like 3 years to do that?
That's kind of where I'm at. And I saw somebody being kind of funny on Twitter earlier. It was like, well, I guess we're going to see a Ghost of Tsushima PS5 port any day now. And that's kind of goes with what Pyle said. They've already had a director's cut. Anytime you've already gotten the PS5 enhancements, it really doesn't make sense to do a PS5 version unless you're going to give some other content included. I mean, or something else. Because you're essentially buying what you already have to a certain degree. I saw Gamut unmute his mic. Gamut, do you have something on this?
I just want to know, does anybody else find it? I don't know. I just hearing the words "The Last of Us 2" and remaster in my mind are just so funny because that game is so high fidelity already. Like, I don't know how much remastering you could really do to that thing, man. The thing is like grade A quality.
I honestly think that the graphics are gonna be, Ghost of Tsushima on PS4 and PS5. It looks almost the same. It's mostly like the all the PS5 features, like the controller stuff, the sound stuff. I don't think it's gonna look all that more impressive, honestly, than the PS4 version. You're just gonna like add all these like things, and also have the PS5 version like platinum thing, trophies wise and all that stuff.
Well, let me go to another part here, and I'll ask Brap. Brap, I don't know if this is going to get you a little warmed up here, bud, but like, a lot of people are saying right now that Naughty Dog is not living up to being top dog, and so I guess if you want to go ahead and look at this generation and say, hey, what's happened here? I guess you can go ahead and say that, but they have a first party AAA new IP in the works. We know that. We've got, I think we have confirmation on The Last of Us 3 being worked on. And then, of course, there's factions, which depending on who you're talking to, some people are saying they're still working on it. Some people are, running around saying it's canceled. I think if it's canceled, I think we're going to hear it right from the horse's mouth. I think you're going to hear it right from Sony. You're going to hear it right from PlayStation. I don't think you're not going to hear that. But what do you think, Brap? I mean, overall, not just the whole, Last of Us Part 2 being remade, but is Naughty Dog really in as much hot water right now? And is some of this slander, as we always say, is it warranted?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, I think it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, because of it's Naughty Dog, right? Like they are what some people would say is Sony's best first-party studio. They delivered, I mean, incredible games in The Last of Us. Look, I'll say this about the whole remaster. I'm not surprised because of the success they've had with the remaster of The Last of Us, the remake of The Last of Us. Yeah. It just seems like this is just the logical next step. And look, I said this on Brap today, the Brap Breath I did earlier this afternoon, that I felt like, yeah, they're milking the franchise, and I get it. As a fan though, and this is from a fan perspective of Naughty Dog and their games, I would like a little fan service. I'd like to know kind of what they're working on.
Absolutely.
But I guess the question is, well, if they continue to do remasters, and if they don't release a new title this generation, like how does that really impact PlayStation? Like what? And I don't think that there's necessarily an impact to PlayStation if they don't release a game this generation. I know people are gonna be like, "What are you talking about, Brap?" Well, I mean, just look at how they're currently. Look at PlayStation 5. Look what they're currently doing in terms of console sales. I mean, Naughty Dog hasn't released a game on the PlayStation 5 this generation at all, anyway, outside of these remasters, and the console's still doing well without a new "quote unquote" Naughty Dog game. So I think a lot of it's a knee-jerk reaction. I see Andre Clay. Thank you, Andre, for that insightful comment. But
I think they've earned the right to take their time at this point.
I don't disagree with that. I think there's they have some political capital, if you will. Now, I think that political capital isn't abundant. It's not infinity per se, but they do have that. And I'm not concerned about what's going on at Naughty Dog. But as a fan, I would like to see kind of what they're working on, because they're one of my favorite developers. I mean, they put out really great content. I mean, I don't think everyone in this panel would love to see what they're working on, but they definitely are milking The Last of Us. And, I don't.
For sure. I'd love to see a new IP from them. I'd love to see what else they got,
I think
I think you made a great point, especially with Insomniac firing on all cylinders right now. Like you don't need a Naughty Dog to step in at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I give it. It
would be nice. It would be nice, but
yeah, I give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's all we can do right now until shown otherwise. But yeah, I don't know as a fan, again, if I want to see more remasters coming from them. I definitely want to see it. We know they're working on something new. We just don't know what that is. And I think, look, as much as I hate to say this, I think fans, and I'm a fan of Naughty Dog, we have to be patient and see what they're cooking. But I'm not out there. I'm not in agreeing that they are in trouble somehow. I've seen people say, "Oh, Naughty Dog's in trouble, therefore PlayStation's in trouble." Yes. I'm not buying that.
No, and and it's funny.
I wonder who those people are.
Go right.
Yeah, right. Oh, we know who those people are. I'll worry.
Of course.
Go ahead, Eric.
Right.
Eric's got a point. Go ahead.
No, I was going to kind of like piggyback on what Brap is saying, because I tweeted about this earlier, and I'm sure some of the tweet got lost in context. And shout out to Crap Gamer. I saw he retweeted me. Crap only like engages with me when I'm bigging up he thinks I'm bigging up Xbox in a way, so he retweeted that tweet. And what I was kind of actually, that happens a lot. You see you guys on the PlayStation side retweet you when they think you're slandering Xbox, and then vice versa. And there's people that never interact with you until they think you're slandering something. And
you're only as cool as your latest tweet.
Yeah, they show up to retweet you, and I'm like, oh, you never show up.
You mean your latest post, Eric? Your latest post, Eric.
Right.
Yeah.
So I tweeted earlier about this, and I just kind of said, it's, and the purpose of the tweet was basically to say, and this is all rumored. Nothing is confirmed yet, as far as, but it, like Brad said, it makes sense that they would do it based off of what The Last of Us remaster did, the success of the show, and all that. Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? And in this world where we're seeing more and more and more, the game pricing as far as like development is rising. So if you can put a remaster out there and there's an interest in it and people go for it, hey, that's easy money to make. People have to remember these are still businesses, and then people get too caught up in this whole, you should be thinking like us fanboys. And when I say us, not me, I'm talking about the fanboys think, well, if I was there, well, if you were there, the company would be out of business within a year because you do everything off of emotion and not what makes sense for the company, right? And keeping the business open. And so, yeah, a remaster of that would make sense because it has a huge following, a big fan base, and as much as people are bitching, they still go out and get it and still buy it. I would be there too because, like Mooch, I'm a big fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
But what I was saying in that is the optic of it, if rumored or not rumored, when you say, you got your Last of Us remastered, this could be remastered. There's the rumor still of Horizon, Zero Dawn remaster, which we know seems like they're milking that franchise too from the things that we're hearing. So it's just the optic of the fact that this is probably the most quiet we've seen Sony in a long time. And this is the same thing we used to kind of say about Xbox. It was like roadmap. We just kind of want to know what your roadmap is. What are we talking about? What are we doing? So when you're quiet and you're talking remaster, it just makes that remaster louder.
That's it. That's Eric. Right. Eric, again, the reason he's the voice of the reason, that's actually it. I was going to say, because Sony's been so quiet and there's no roadmap. I mean, just take, for example, two really good teams, right? Naughty Dog for PlayStation and the Coalition. The Coalition for Xbox. The Coalition hasn't done anything this generation yet. We haven't heard anything what's going on with the Coalition. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I have no problem being wrong.
No.
I'm looking
the
forward.
The problem with the Coalition is, unlike last gen, they don't have to put out games. They got so many studios releasing games currently. Like, they already have 4 games for 2023, and they probably have even more than that in the pipeline. So, because last gen, they had the problem of Halo, Gears of Forza, because they're the only games they were making. Now the Coalition could sit back and go, okay, cool, we ain't gotta do shit. We could just work on Unreal Engine 5 and put out something incredible, and then just sit back. Why do you think the Turn 10 took the amount of time they did off? Because you don't need a Forza to release. Who needs a Forza to release when you got other games releasing? So,
yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think that same notion can kind of be said for some. They're just not saying anything. Microsoft has done a good job thus far of saying these are the games that we have. Remember, they showed us games in 2021, and they said it would be 12 months, and then 22 was kind of not even sparse. It was nothing, right? So now 23, they have some games. PlayStation is going through their 2020, but 2023 still for them isn't bad. And you guys can say you don't like the games. This isn't about personal preference of the games, because Singer's, he's throwing out things like Pentiment and this and that and blah, blah, blah. That came out. That's fine. That's not for everybody. But this year, was Forspoken? We're already later in the year. Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16, and then you have, Spider-Man to wrap it up. And then early next year, you've already got Final Fantasy Rebirth. I mean, there's games there.
Silent Hill. Remake.
That's the thing. PlayStation knows how to supplement their first party with their third party connections. Because if you look at it, PlayStation released one first party game, which is Spider-Man, but then they used their connection with ScreenX to, hey, give us this game. Konami, whoever's working on Silent Hill? Oh yeah, give us that game. And then we only have to release 1 or 2 games, maybe, because then we can have ScreenX release a game, they could release a game for us, and we can have it exclusive. And then the year is padded out. So now you have a whole year of games, but you yourself didn't have to do much, because you're like, okay, well, I could get this and this and this. That's what I see this year as. Yeah. Because Insomniac is the crown jewel of PlayStation at the moment. Naughty Dog is a great studio, but in my opinion, Insomniac put PlayStation Studios on its back and is carrying that shit because their rate of release is insane. From Spider-Man in 2018 to now, look how many games they released since then, regardless of the remaster of 2018 Spider-Man. Like they're just trucking.
And they're utilizing current gen hardware for things that people wanted in current gen hardware. Like all of the tech buzzwords like ray tracing and all that stuff. Every single game they release has every single thing that you would want in a new generation system. So I think that's
the price that they got them at too. Like you're seeing people out here spending $70 billion, and then they got Insomniac for what, $200 million, and they're just slinging left and right.
So I waited purposefully.
And again, what people have to get under their under their cap is Twitter bubble versus the reality of what the real gaming community is about and what it is.
Oh man, it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. It's so easy to be like, everybody's hating this, everybody's hating that, and then you go outside, and people are like, what are you talking about?
Well,
go ask your cousin who has nothing to do with Twitter, social media, what he's looking forward to playing. He'll never sit there and say, what the hell is all this remake stuff?
Yeah,
but hey, you hit you up and they say, "Hey, I heard that they're remastering. They're doing another version," and you explain to them what that version really means, and it's, "Oh, dope! I'm picking that up later."
Right.
That's all of the new people buying PlayStation 5s. There's a lot of people buying PlayStation 5s now that aren't PlayStation 5 owners. So to them, a brand new Last of Us game isn't like a remake of a remake. It's just The Last of Us 2. You know what I mean?
It's not just that.
That's a great point, Worry. I mean, I think
it's also
a lot of times,
out, Brap, it's also supposed to come out. I want to piggyback off Worry real quick, Brap. I'll give you the mic back. But it's supposed to come out around the time, if it's supposedly true, when The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO comes out. So, there's and then there's also the PC port. So there's so I understand, and that goes to Eric's sentiment that like when you see that we're all in this community, that's why I always say, guys, pat yourself on the back. Everybody listening to the show now, later on the panel, you're hardcore. You're involved. Your ears to the ground day in and day out. But most people are not. A lot of people went out and picked up a PlayStation 5 and The Last of Us Part 1 because it was big on HBO. They had no idea. No clue. What is this? You saw it all the time. What is this? Is this a game? What is this? So I mean, there's a lot of that out there. Go ahead, Brap.
I mean,
that's not this. I'm sorry, Brap. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say this real quick, Brad. That's not to say that they shouldn't still be talking to their hardcore like base as well, because they spend money just like more than anybody else. So that's when the showcase part of it, like, dude, you haven't been saying anything to us, and here we are. So all of it has to be a balancing act, but people again shouldn't get it twisted. Yeah, the hardcore matters, but there's a bigger picture for Sony, and again, they're not going off of the fanboy in the boardroom. They hear you. It's like the kid saying, Dad, I just ate 2 slices of pizza, but I'm still hungry. You're not really hungry. You just want it because it's there. But we hear you. Whatever. Yeah. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
So,
and there's something you said about the shows, like you just brought up, Mooch, that there's definitely a knock-on effect. You look at the sales numbers for The Last of Us, because The Last of Us remake came out right before the show, I think. And you look at when the show launched, and look at the knock-on effect to sales of that particular game. Look what happened with Cyberpunk. Edge Runners. When Edge Runners debuted on Netflix, CD Projekt Red saw an uptick in sales with Cyberpunk. And so when we hear about games like
The Witcher, that was crazy too.
Yeah, The Witcher 2, yeah, exactly. A lot of us are like scratching our heads like, why would they do a remaster of Horizon Forbidden West or Horizon Zero Dawn? Well, they have a TV show that's coming out. And so that's going to drive new people who are, I think Eric just said this, that are new to the PlayStation platform. They're going to go out and buy these games because it's new to them. And look, I'm the hardcore. It doesn't resonate with me, but I understand that I'm not the only person. I'm not the market per se. There's other people that are.
You're there already. You're there already. But the people
I'm there already. Yeah.
Oh wait, this is based on a game. There's a game.
Yeah. Now that being said,
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah. Now that being said, like selfishly speaking, I want a more defined roadmap. I want that, but. I also look at it like this, and this year's kind of highlighted this point, that for me, I don't play games on a particular platform just for exclusives. That's one part of it. But there's so much other content that's coming out. We talked about this on Wednesday, Mooch.
Yep.
About October.
Yeah,
it's stacked.
It's stacked. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
This year,
I'm several months behind already. I'm several months behind, and I do a pretty good job keeping up typically because I like to be online and talk about and experience new things with the community and be like, oh, did you find this or that? You know what I mean? You can't even keep up. It's impossible at this point.
It is.
I don't think many people play games for the exclusives, but at least on console, my experience is that the quality and impact of first-party exclusives dictate where you're playing those third-party exclusives.
Mhm.
So
I want to give a quick devil's advocate to that, because there's something I noticed with the casual crowd with PlayStation 5s earlier this year and Hogwarts Legacy. I saw many casual gamers believing that
I love that
Hogwarts was
game.
the only place to
Yeah.
play it on console. And I think that really spiked sales for them. So I think it's like sometimes you could kind of trick the casual player into getting into that ecosystem, like you were just saying, with the belief that, oh, I can only play this really big title that I love for books or the movies or whatever, just on marketing dollars alone. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the PlayStation 2 generation? And Colin brought this up. And by the way, if you haven't watched the Brap show with Colin Moretti, definitely check it out. Shameless plug.
Shameless
Mooch.
plug.
But
Nice
he-
plug.
Yeah, but
there were only a few really good exclusives from Sony. It was just third party that you know.
Yeah, he talked about that PlayStation 2. Like it was like, and
But that's how
I'm
you
like,
do it.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, you're right. Yeah, GTA 3 was exclusive for a while. Onimusha, I think Final Fantasy X. I mean, there were so many games that were not on other platforms that were third party exclusives. And if you listen to what Jim Ryan said,
Famously,
early
Grand Theft Auto
generation-
3 was passed on by Xbox.
Yeah, it was passed on by Xbox. But if you look at if you listen to what Jim Ryan said, he talked about them, leveraging their relationships. There was an article by Imran Khan that talked about early in the generation that Sony was outbidding Microsoft for third-party content. So I think that's part of their plan too. I think it's not just first party, but it's also leveraging third-party exclusive content. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is probably the big one for PlayStation next year. And I would imagine that game's probably going to do very well for them.
Oh, I would assume so as well. Especially.
Hey,
in
Mooch.
that
Hey, Mooch. I got to get going, man. I know you guys are on a flow right now. I'm sorry to break it
No,
up.
that's all right, Gamer.
Yeah, I got to get out of here. Hey, I'll listen on the way to work, man. You guys have a good one. I appreciate you having me today.
Appreciate you being here, Gamut. Thank you, but I know you had to work. The great Gamers Gamut, everybody. He literally says to me, Mooch, I got at least an hour. I was hoping to get an hour and a half, but nonetheless, Gamut, enjoy the rest of your night, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Take care, guys. It's been good.
Later, bro.
So
All right, you too, man.
I got a couple. I got some super chats here. Some funny, some are serious. So I'll start with serious. God Emperor Sofa King. He says the House of Sony is on fire. Jim, in quotes, lion crying, forced into retirement. Ryan is ousted. Naughty Dog Factions 2 is put on ice. People let go, and Bungie being sued for wrongful terms due to discrimination. So
what an incredibly insightful comment. That's PhD level. PhD level comment.
Dr. Sofa King to you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Was that you, Singer, who was going to say something?
Oh no, I love how they've changed Jim Ryan's name again to Forced into Retirement Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Like this guy is getting so many titles. Like the name's just getting longer and longer.
He's gonna be knighted soon.
Yeah.
He might be knighted soon. I mean, hell, if what's his face isn't what's his name? The guy who used to head up Xbox.
The guy who used to Seamus Blackley?
No, not Seamus Blackley. Peter Moore. Isn't he like Sir Peter Moore now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shout out to
I will say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brad.
No, I will say this because Creative Kofi's here. Kofi, I got to say, I've been meaning to ask you, what do you think about Xbox's, like Microsoft getting a lot more Japanese support? Because I think they've really done a great job on that front more recently.
Man, I'm very conflicted. So
Really?
there's a lot of positives. Well, go
No, I'm
ahead.
sorry. I don't think it's been great, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I'll say this. Overall, I'm glad that there are not just more Japanese games getting published on the Xbox side, but it seems that the community, like I follow a lot of Japanese gamers who are on Twitter. They love Game Pass. They love playing like things like when Octopath Traveler 1 was on Game Pass, that was great. When it came off of Game Pass, they complained. But then to see that Octopath Traveler 2 is coming to Xbox, that was kind of like the air going back into the sails, I guess, of the ship and various communities that I jump between. I'm looking, and then here's the thing. I played Hi-Fi Rush earlier this year. I really enjoyed Hi-Fi Rush. It can't be a Game of the Year candidate because it's so crowded this year. But seeing like Tango Gameworks step out of the box that you would associate them with, that is great. And then, of course, I'm sure there's going to be some collaboration with Square Enix. Obviously, we know that Final Fantasy 14 is going to be coming out on Xbox. That is really great news. I'm still looking
The Persona games.
That's true. Yeah, Persona 3.
Hey, Persona.
4.
I thought that was huge getting Persona, by the way.
Yeah, that is a good point. I completely actually that's a little bit of a blind spot. I meant to mention that. I think. Oh, I'll say one other thing. The new game that is supposed to be a part of their Temple franchises under Atlas. I'm forgetting the name though. It's supposed to be
Metaphor Refantasio.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the fact that they were able to announce Metaphor first, it is huge respect. I think the only thing I'm waiting for is some more original IPs under studios they own. Hi-Fi Rush already gets points, so I'm not going to act like that doesn't exist. But just looking to see that churning consistency moving forward. But like overall, I have a lot of friends who live in Japan. They are interested in Game Pass. They are the number one issue that still kind of stands is at times Japanese language is not available for a title natively. I will never forget when Wasteland 3 first came out. All my Japanese friends wanted to play Wasteland 3, but it didn't have Japanese text. So as long as they can stay consistent with making those types of titles available, I could see them kind of embracing the Japanese community slowly. I understand it's like a ongoing thing.
One series you forgot though, Kofi? Like a Dragon. Now, for some reason, Sega is in love with it because they're putting The Man Who Erased His Name on Game Pass, they're putting Ishin on Game Pass, and then they announced Infinite Wealth, which is number 8 in the series. And Like a Dragon released in Game Pass, and then you have Persona throwing everything basically into it. So Sega, this partnership is really weird because before last gen, it wasn't there.
Well, it kicked off with.
Well, there's a big bag of money with Game Pass now.
Well, yeah, but Sega seems to be in constantly just throw it in there.
Is Sonic in there? Frontiers?
That's the only thing that isn't from Sega. Yeah.
Well, so some of those games don't typically sell well. I mean, outside of maybe Persona 5 and I don't know what 4 did, but or Golden, but some of these titles that aren't really big like sellers for them, and so that's why it's like advantageous for them to put it in Game Pass.
Right.
And that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, a lot of the games that you're talking about too, when you're talking about like Persona, those and correct me
Persona
where I'm
5
wrong.
actually did well. That's a huge get. And
Well,
I would say Dragon Quest 11 was pretty big for them.
But
too.
the thing is, though,
That's
That's a great game. Yeah, that was a big deal.
So I think that the games going there is very good, especially for the service for those customers. But the games that are Persona 5, the Personas, and Kofi, correct me where I'm wrong here, but the Personas that are going to be going in Persona 4, these games have been on PlayStation for a very long time. So they're going to Game Pass, but they're older games. So it's
that's
like,
true.
I get the enthusiasm if you're an Xbox only gamer, then absolutely. But there's twofold here. First of all, the games are very old. Second of all, I think this is Microsoft doing a wait and see. I think they're open the bag. They're paying for these games, and then they look. The one thing they do look at is active users. They look at who downloads the game. They look at who plays the game. I think if they do these deals that they're doing with these titles, and they don't see people downloading the game and playing them in a certain aspect, and it's not bringing in more subscribers, we're all assuming that this will go on indefinitely. I still think it's a trial. I think it's a trial and basis, seeing what's going to happen and what the results will be.
The only thing I'll push back on, I do agree that consistently going into Game Pass day one may not necessarily be the truth because we still haven't. Well, I think we know that Octopath Traveler 2, so we can say for Square Enix that they are going to continue that trend for some games. But the thing I wanted to push back on was Persona 3 Reload. That is a complete remake from scratch, and so for them to get that, even though Persona 3
that's
is
huge.
PS2. It's still a pretty big deal, and of course, Metaphor is still a pretty big. I mean, Metaphor is completely new IP, so I do give them respect for that. But Metaphor going into Game Pass, I don't think so. Just in my opinion, I think they want to see how that game enters the market as their new triad for their tentpole franchises, right? Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, and now Metaphor.
Hey, Kofi, and I guess my only
point.
hope, and one thing I'll say, the Xbox community, I really do hope they play these games. Like I was one of the few on X or Twitter at the time that was beating the drum of Dragon Quest 11 being on Game Pass. That was such a huge deal because Dragon Quest, I mean, is a storied franchise. I mean, for those who don't remember, I'm sure you know this, Kofi. Before there was Square Enix, there was Square versus Enix, and it was
yes.
Yeah, and there was like you were either a Final Fantasy fan or you were a Dragon Quest fan or Dragon Warrior here in the U.S. back in the day. So it's another conversation. But
I think Dragon Quest was before Final Fantasy, wasn't it?
I don't remember what Dragon Quest launched. It maybe, but I remember playing
first Dragon Quest was before the first Final Fantasy. I think
was it okay.
Yeah,
I remember playing Dragon Warrior, which was Dragon Quest on NES. But anyhow, but that was kind of but getting Dragon Quest like 11, which was highly critically rated, very well. That was a huge get, and I just hope that the Xbox platform owners support a lot of the games that they're getting because the one thing, and I've been very critical of Microsoft this generation. I think the one thing they've done a better job at is getting some of these Japanese titles into Game Pass, and I really hope that people support some of these games because if they don't, I think what Mooch saying has some merit to it. Like if they don't, why are they going to spend money?
Well, maybe
Game Pass that people that aren't going to play.
Right.
Maybe their idea isn't to get people in the US to play these games. Maybe it's people in Japan to subscribe to Game Pass and play these games. I mean, a big month for them is when they sell like 1,000 consoles. So I don't know. Maybe that's the play. Having them in a subscription service for Japanese gamers.
The funny thing
back on that. Go ahead, Singer.
I was just gonna say the funny thing about Dragon Quest 11S. It was my first Dragon Quest game, and it came into Game Pass. And I heard a lot about Dragon Quest, but I was never into the series. And I played it. I played about 2 hours of it, stopped, went onto Steam, and just bought the entire deluxe premium edition. And I was like, This is why I love it, because I would never have bought the game, but I tried it, and I think that's what a lot of people will do, is if you bring more Japanese games into the service, people I actually enjoyed it, sure, I'm willing to buy it. Because it worked with me. Like, I wouldn't have bought Dragon Quest 11 without Game Pass.
No, and that's a good point, Singer, and don't get me wrong, I will say, though, you're kind of the anomaly. I don't think majority of people are like, I love this game.
We need to clone Singer.
Yeah, Singer.
Make 4 singers.
If we clone Singer, like the games industry would be all right alone just with Singer. So I do appreciate that.
The one thing you were talking about was trying to get more Japanese players to get into the ecosystem, right? That was what we were.
I think that's what Warrior was saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the one challenge is, if you guys already hit the nail on the head. I think of a game that had exclusive marketing rights in Japan and then didn't sell well, and it shows that you need to consistently put in the effort, and that was Scarlet Nexus. It basically had a complete campaign on Xbox in Japan, in the West, to hey, get it here. We have all the marketing rights for it, and people theorize that it hurt the sales of its initial week, in the Famitsu, hardware review. But I think that if you're, like you guys are saying, if you want to build a fan base there that can expect all this consistency, you need more of those. Because then, let's say you get Scarlet Nexus on Xbox. That's great. Then 17 other titles don't come to Xbox. It's like a cavalcade, right? So if they can hit some sort of, like a battle rhythm that can be, I don't know, 4, great RPGs of various budgets every calendar year. And try to, there's just other franchises that just don't like. I think I like the Atelier series. Atelier is pretty niche, I think, when you look at the greater community.
You mean Italian? Ryza?
Yeah, exactly. Ryza. Ryza sells really
great games.
People love the series, and it's just crickets over on the Xbox side. So when titles like that are missing, it hurts them. I know, now I'm going to like the super nerdy territory with some of these titles, but that's That's what they need to do.
One game's. I need Neo Falcom to be. I need Microsoft to go drop the bag on them and just get the entire Trail series into Game Pass. I have like 300 hours of Trails of Cold Steel 3, 202. 4-1. I played through all the Sky series.
On Xbox?
On PC. On PC. On Steam. But then Trails, I need to play the latest Trails game. Trails Reverie, I think it is.
Yeah. They're all on console too.
So really quick, I don't know, I gotta get to a real nerd moment. The reason why I ever studied Japanese was for the Trails series. So it is my obsession. It's funny that you had mentioned that you were interested in Microsoft getting Falcom. What made you excited for Microsoft to have Falcom?
Not to acquire them, but to get their games into Game Pass. Because I think the Trails series. I think the Trails series is I think it fits a Western audience. Like, I think it'll do really, really well because
it does. It fits a Western audience better than the Tales of series does.
Yeah,
which is really good too.
You have the whole mechs, and no spoilers or anything because I know people ain't played the series. But
they're old games. Go ahead.
They're older games. I think at this point, they're older games. You could.
I mean, like the whole mechs and the whole war storyline and everything going on deals with some mature themes, and the whole school aspect. And I just think it'll do really well for a Western audience. Like if you just push it to the front, loads of people will gravitate to this style of game.
No, it absolutely might. Go ahead, Kofi.
I'm sorry. I know this is going long in the tooth. The last thing I'll say is the great thing about Trails is that each of the series in like the overall saga has a different perspective. So just like Singer said, there's a school student perspective. There is a bracer perspective, which is almost like people who are like contractors for things that they believe in. And then they have a police perspective. And then the latest is like underground characters that will you can choose to do evil or good. And really, to be honest, you should start off chronologically in the beginning, but I can't tell people to play 10 games in a row. So you can choose each of these as a jump off point, and you guys will get a different perspective in the same consistent world. That it's like a MCU for JRPGs. It's crazy.
Are any of the Ys series games on Xbox?
Yes. One, Origin.
It's
crazy.
Yeah. And another fun series. I personally with Trails, I'd start with Sky and then go into it. But like it's just so funny how Trails seems to get overlooked, and Neo Falcom doesn't seem to do anything. Like I don't see PlayStation really doing deals with them. I don't see no one really doing deals with them. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, someone just go over to them and go, here's a bag. Do what you gotta do, because
it must be.
Is 13 Sentinel coming to Xbox too?
Good question.
I thought.
While Singer looks that up, I'm about 15 super chaps behind here. So the great Danelle Brown here, he says, Sony dudes, and this is the DeFloyd who's in the chat. He's like, Mooch, did you read the funny ones yet? I believe Danelle's being funny here, but the great Danelle Brown, he loves to throw jabs at us. He says, Sony dudes are not that smart. They are mad that they are releasing The Last of Us 2, which we knew about when the PS5 was out. Like, really? Danelle comes back, he says, you guys, Sony dudes on Twitter crying about what Sony is doing. They want them to remake old games that flopped. Sony dudes are never happy with anything. I hope Sony remakes everything so I can laugh. Danelle likes to see everybody in misery. God War Emperor, Sofa King.
The Last of Us 2 flopped?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he was referring to that, but Danelle's actually a big PlayStation fan, for those of you that don't know. The God War Emperor, he comes back, he says, he was talking to @Woodens before, and he says, you do remember how GT7 launched. We're kind of moved on from that one. I apologize, I'm behind. Emperor says, dog, what if they charge $70 for that remaster? Well, we'll find out, Sofa King. We'll find out one way or the other if they're gonna. I think Pio's right. I think they're gonna go more of I think it's smarter for them to go with more of a Ghost of Tsushima director's cut approach for people that own the game. The Great Domino Zero, 38 months. He says, I demand an upgrade to my room in the house. Absolutely, Domino. Absolutely. Whatever you need. Jacuzzi tub, whatever you need, buddy. You can have whatever you want. You've been here so long. Shout out to Domino. God Emperor Sofa King, he says, Joel Miller is rolling in his grave. Leave Joel out of this, please. Joel already gets enough bad takes online. And Danelle's back. He says, Sony ponies don't want multiplayer games or remakes. They only want single-player games. Shake my head. But this is only Sony ponies on Twitter. So I could ride with that. People who are just PlayStation fans, they don't need to always just have a single player. They kind of want to have a nice menu of games to enjoy on PlayStation. So I can see where Danelle's coming from there. And then Face 23, he says, I'm enjoying, and we'll talk about this a bit in a moment, Face, but I will read it now. I'm enjoying Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's not overwhelming like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and it's a lot shorter. Now I'll have more.
You know what's funny, Mooch?
Sure.
Somebody asked me how much that game was. I said $50, and the next thing they said to me was, "What's wrong with it?" People are so used to spending $70. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Well, actually, that's, to be honest with you, I don't know if that's, we'll chuckle at that point, but I don't really blame them because, well, to be honest with you, much like Face 23 saying though, whoever did ask you that worry, the answer is it's not as overwhelming. It's not as massive as Odyssey, Valhalla, or Origins. He says, I'll have more time to play Spider-Man 2, Lies of P, Alan Wake 2, Lords of the Fallen, RoboCop. Rest in peace, my wallet. Shout out to Face 23. I hear you. My God, there's so many games. It's unbelievable. And that's one of the things. There's so many games coming out. That's why when people are like, this year, even more than last year, I think this year's back end across all platforms, third party and first, across the respective Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, there's a lot of games. There's an absolute ton of games. So rest in peace to all of our wallets and our time. That's
hey, Mooch.
Sure. Yes.
The thing is, all three first part. I think this is the first time in a long time. All three main platforms have had a whole bunch of games in the same year. Because
I agree.
Everyone has released multiple games this year, whether they be first party or exclusive, third, second, whatever have you. Like, everyone's been firing, and third party has been firing on all cylinders, just dropping games left, right. And also the other thing, another reason why I went to PC Mooch is because I get the Xbox library, but all the Japanese games that come out and skip Xbox, I get to play them on Steam because they all come out. Like, I'm currently playing Eternite. It's a small little, you could tell it's on a budget. But
that game was great.
But
that just came out, right?
Yep, I'm in love with it. All they did, they charged, I paid, $20 for the game? Brand new? 20. They just charge you 20. And,
is that on Xbox? I know it's on PlayStation 5.
No, it's on Steam. It's on PC.
Yeah, it's on PlayStation as well.
What game is it?
Eternites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's got like a Persona aspect of the really whole relationship management. You could tell it's their first outing, or like it's on a budget. So it's not quite top quality AAA, but it's a really, really good game. And it's priced appropriately. They didn't overcharge. 20, I'm willing to pay for that.
See, when I hear games that you're talking about like this and where he says it's on PlayStation, that's why I actually have as long again as the connectivity and the one-to-one link system they have works, that's debatable. We don't know that yet. I'm really looking forward to getting that PlayStation Portal. Games like Sea of Stars and what you're talking about right now, these are games that I would love to just pick up and play in the house on a portable device or my Steam Deck to make Singer smile. Either one. It doesn't matter. Those are games I would like to play on a handheld. They sound like they are definitely that kind of experience. I do want to go over to Pio real quick as we change subjects because I do want to get a couple of these. We have a couple of real big ones still to hit on. Pio, I know this has got to have gotten underneath your skin over the past week or two. I think it's been about a week and a half. Spider-Man's closing in. We're very excited about it. Everybody, I don't care what platform you prefer. Everybody likes Spider-Man. Pio, when you hear about the whole length of the game, they're saying, I believe they said to complete would be 17 to 20 hours. They're saying 30 to 35 for a platinum. Pio, when you hear people complain that game is not long enough or it's too short, what do you think? Is that valid criticism?
No. I keep in mind, Twitter bubble. I have not met anyone in real life to say that Spider-Man is too short, or like if I tell anyone that plays PlayStation or Xbox or PC right now in my real life, right, I go to like, Spider-Man takes 15 hours to beat and like 35 hours to platinum. That's too short. They were like, what? They're like, I have a job. That's the first thing they would tell me. Like, normal people, keep in mind, this year, right, I played Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I played Final Fantasy 16. I played now Starfield, almost completely done with it. Those are very long games that I've spent over 100 hours in each game. I don't want any long games anymore. Like, I want to take a huge ass break for long games, because when you have a job and you have social life and stuff, you can spend up to like a month for just one game, and I don't want that with like, imagine playing Spider-Man the same length as you play like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, no way.
Would anyone think
that would be overstaying its welcome.
Like, what would you do? You just shoot webs on people in the game? Like, have like a challenge?
Talking about Spider-Man?
Yeah. Have like collect like 10,000 collectibles just to collect 10,000 collectibles to get one trophy. Like, that's the type of stuff that would make they have to make. I always say, like, with the new Assassin's Creed game, it is so refreshing to play a Ubisoft game where it's not just bloated. It's just like fun. Like, I'm just having fun. It's not amazing. It's good. It's just fun, and that's what I want from Spider-Man. Even though obviously I think Spider-Man like production value is going to be way higher than Assassin's Creed. Obviously.
Yeah, I
don't think it's too short at all.
I don't think so either. Eric, this has got to be something that kind of got under your skin as well and got you a little nerved up. I mean, is this something that bothers you?
Yeah.
I don't think. I think, shout out to, like, Persona always makes me laugh when he's like, I got a wife and kids. He does a great sound effect. Like, I ain't got time for that. Right. Like, but I will say, I like 17 hours to complete the game. Okay. Like, I'm going to go for the platinum. So I'm in that 30 to 40 hour camp. I mean, that's long enough for me.
That's plenty. That's plenty. And look, everybody's situation is different. Some people, they immerse themselves in the game. That's the only game they play for the whole year. Go with it. But, for me, no, when I hear, 12, 15, 17, 30 hours, beautiful, because that means I can get in. And most times that's all the game needs, or it's overstaying its welcome, because what are we going to have, like 30 hours of more screwball missions? I don't want that. Just to pad it out, just to fill it out. It's the exact reason why I kind of walked away from Assassin's Creed, in the past, because I loved the Assassin's Creed, but I'm like, this is just, after a while, I feel like I'm just doing busy work. I don't feel like I'm actually doing anything meaningful, at this point. And then, you get to a point where it's like, they said in that game in particular, like Valhalla, people didn't even experience the end of it to know that the new game is based on this character from the end of the game.
Right.
Because they petered out on it because it was too, it was too bloated and too big of a game, right? So when I hear people like saying 30 hours is not enough, I'm like, that sounds awesome to me, but what sounds crazy to me is when people say, well, it takes 30 hours or so to get into it.
Well, yeah, that's the other.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
hey, but to each their own. If you were willing to do that, that's fine. But I hear that and I'm like, it takes 30 hours just.
I think you got to think about the genre too, right? The genre. Right. If it's an action adventure game, 30 hours is probably correct. If it's an open world RPG, 30 hours is probably too short.
Yes.
So it depends. It depends, because one of the things I liked about like the Outer Worlds was the fact that they built it to be around 30 hours, but it's built to do multiple playthroughs. You can continue to kind of keep
that
going
too.
back.
You factor that
love
too.
That idea.
Think about New Game Plus with Spider-Man 2, right?
Right. And then on top of that, let's say this worry, like we're old guys when it comes to the gaming thing. When we were younger and games were more spaced out, we didn't have the indies hitting the way that they do now. We didn't have the, like 6 or 7 games hitting on 1 week. So it was more spaced out. So it was looked at as more bang for your buck because you were spending more time with that game because the next one would be so far away.
Right.
Now you're getting game. And no, you don't have to play everything. You have to space some things out. But realistically, as gamers, we want to play the things we're interested in. But if you spent, like Pio said, you've spent, 100 hours in this game and then the next game's 100 hours, eventually you get burnout.
Not just that, E, but we got to go back to what we were saying about a topic or two back. Like, this is Twitter community, gaming community banter. I don't think anybody that's going into Forte's store that's going to buy, whether they bought the Spider-Man 2 console edition or they're going to buy the physical disc, is going to be like, actually, you know what, Forte? Nah, I don't want it.
I heard this
hours,
is 30 hours.
17 hours.
I can't.
Yeah, they're going to walk in and say,
value to me.
right. I'm looking for an
You know?
Xbox or a PlayStation, but can you tell me which company organically grew their studios before I buy my system?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. Again, Twitter bubble. It's like when it comes to games, people have this weird thing about what is a value, what isn't a value, price versus not price. But in any other industry, no one typically does that. And I always throw like the movie industry out there, which exponentially increases the price of their movies
Exactly.
annually.
You're paying $25 for a 2-hour experience.
Right, which there's no guarantee you're gonna like. More often than not, where you walk out of them, that movie sucked. But guess what? You do it again the next week. I'm gonna do it again next week. I'm not gonna go. Well, last week I spent $25 for the movie, and then by the time I bought popcorn and everything else, it was almost $100 night. But you go back for the experience of it.
That's right.
So why does it, when it comes to games, is this thing where you're conceivably going to spend 30 hours with the game? Why is that value? Why is that not value?
Yeah.
Yep.
If it got in and told its story and you had a great time with it, and right as you were probably getting a little burnout, it was like, all right, we're done. That's a great experience.
I completely agree with you. And like I said, it's just this bubble that we live in that says this kind of stuff. Brap, go ahead.
Yeah, so some people are just entitled. They feel like they deserve cheap AAA games, and it's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, like gaming. Like, if you want cheap games, there's cheap games out there. People just need to understand that they're not. Sometimes they're not the addressable market. Just like there's people who don't want to spend $200 on a pair of tennis shoes. I mean, it's not for you. It's just not. I mean, there's people who go out and spend $80,000, $100,000 on vehicles.
Yeah.
There's other people who are like, that's too much money. You're just not the market. But people just feel entitled that, hey, you know what, we deserve cheap AAA games. That's just,
I mean, I guess
not how it works.
But
Not how it works.
to play devil's advocate before we switch subjects, I guess I will say this much. Remember, and there was, I want to say I think games like the Order 1886 may have come under fire for this, but certain games that were charging full price in their respected time, right? Because they were $60 then, and they were like 5 to 7 hours. Would you guys on the panel agree or disagree that 5 to 7 hours for a full price game might kind of hit in, the wrong direction?
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
I mean,
For $70 for 5 hours, you mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if it would look, here's the thing: if it's something I wanted and it was good, absolutely, I would get it.
You know what I thought of when you said that? I thought of the Order 1886, because that was a really short game, but it was really good.
I
love that game.
Yeah, that's one of those.
I go to the movies. I spend $15 to go see a 2-hour movie. I mean, that's 2 hours right there. I'll never see that movie again. I mean,
well, when you do the breakdown of that, Brap, then it really makes sense, right? Because I think E just said it. If you go family of 4 to a movie's about 2 hours. Between the IMAX tickets and, God forbid, you get a soda and a popcorn, you're over $100-something bucks.
I think it's just I think the problem is that because of a very binary conversation, it's more nuanced than 5-7 hours. Is it something you like? The 5-7 hours, is it something you like and you're willing to pay for? If it is, then you'll buy it.
Well, price versus time versus money is interesting, because I absolutely adore Pentiment. It's a beautiful story. Beautiful story. And it came, told its story, and then went. And it was the perfect time. It was like 10 hours or whatever. It came, went, done, and I'm perfectly happy with it. And I'm glad games like Assassin's Creed have gone back to that, because games just, like Baldur's Gate, 100 plus hours, understandable, because it has the content to back it up. No one wants, like Valhalla was, okay, this is cool, but I don't. What you get to do for 100 hours is Baldur's Gate for 100 hours versus that for 100 hours. They're two completely different things. But then, I personally don't pay full price for games, because shout out to Green Man Gaming. Give you that 15% off discount on all brand new games. But
well, wait, Singer, how long was Pentiment?
It's 10 hours,
Yeah,
I
it could
think.
be like between 10 to 15, depending on like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're doing. But yeah, it tells, like you said, it tells a story and it gets out. But the great thing about that, it's a game that you can go back to and replay again, and it's so many branching paths that what happened to Singer. I could have a discussion with Singer about the game and go, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I've done that with people. It's like that's the beauty of the game, and that was a great game, and a lot of people kind of slept on it, but.
Yeah, another not.
Which I get, it can be a little turn off look at the art style and stuff.
A ton of hours into was Remnant 2. The game is $49.99 as base price. The campaign is like 16 to 20 hours. I put 300 hours into the game, and I still don't have everything. It's definitely one of my favorite Souls-likes, and probably one of my favorite games this year. So it's nice when it's subjective, right?
Kofi, did you play it? Did you play it solo, or did you link up with friends?
Yo, I mostly played with friends. I did do some solo things to unlock very specific to like amulets or rings. But yeah, a lot of like right now I'm in the middle of a permadeath run. Two of my buddies. So we're trying to get a
Okay, so here I'm putting a request in online, Kofi. I need you to start a new character on that and run it through with me. I'm literally I'm probably only about 5 hours in, and I wouldn't mind because the others I was asking Slow-Mo. I believe Slow-Mo, shout out to Luca, and shout out to Forte.
Yeah.
And they were playing, and they were like, literally, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think they were like, when I'm done with this, they were playing it for so long, they're like, they were done. So if anyone wants to do another run through on Remnant, I have that, and I want to play that game through because I think it may be a Souls-like game that really calls out to me. As much as I like Lies of P.
It's so fun to play blind. If you don't know what's going on in that game, I think it's way fun, man, because there's so many things you could choose. And me and a friend of mine, when we first started the game, we had a yelling match against each other because we both had the same world, but different roles, like RNG.
Yep.
And we didn't know that was the rule set for the game. So we're like, no, you didn't do this. He's like, yes, I did. So that type of banter to me made it even more. It threw me off balance, and I like when you're caught off guard by a game because of its design. So, a huge compliment to those guys, and can't wait for the DLC.
Shout out to that guy 66.
Yeah, I was gonna say this too. It's like when it comes to let's go back talk about the bubble. The bubble constantly, the Twitter bubble constantly puts back and forth what the time or value of a game based on the service versus who's still charging for a game. And that's usually what it comes down to. Is like, what's in Game Pass versus who's paying for a game. And then this value commodity kind of like pops up and becomes like a major like talking point, because it's like I should get all these games in this one service for free. And I've said it before, time is a commodity also. So, I do play games in Game Pass, but there are times when I'm like going through Game Pass just like I do like on Netflix or one of the other streaming services, and I'm like, I'm gonna go read because I don't know what to really jump on right now because there's like too much here.
I hate that with Netflix. I sit there for an hour just scrolling through, right? Yep. Looking and looking.
And I remember somebody like kind of goofing on when I was on CrossFire a couple weeks ago, and I said, sometimes I look at Game Pass and I get anxiety, like, oh, that's what we're doing now. Game Pass gives me anxiety. I'm like, no, I'm about to curse, you freaking idiot. I'm saying when I look at it, I go, there's a lot here, and sometimes you get analysis paralysis. So that is also like time is a commodity. It's like, how much time can I spend doing this XYZ? Sometimes it is okay just to buy that game and play it because that's what the time affords, not even just the price.
They make a blue pill for that now, Eric. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, not that problem. I don't have that kind of problem.
Shout out to that guy 66. I appreciate the super chat. He says, Mooch, I'll run it through with you. That guy, you got it, buddy. You already know. Just let me know. All I ask is, this is the one thing. This is the joke I had with Slow-Mo years back with The Division. People are like, oh, Mooch, what level are you? And I was like, oh, I didn't get a chance to play it when it first came out. Like it was the first week, but it wasn't the first day. So I was like I'm making this up. I was like level 5 or 6. They're like, well, don't worry. I'm already level 30. I'll just hide behind that cop car and we'll bring you up. We'll level you up. I'm like, I don't want to play and just sit behind a car. Like, I want someone to, so you always want someone to start, like, you know what I mean? Start with you. So that guy 66, as long as you're willing to start over, I'm all about it.
Zeitgeist games are tough, man. That's why I gave up on Destiny because I'm like, if I take a week off to play something else, God forbid, Destiny is like you belong to me, like, or no one else.
Right.
And shout out to the Destiny players, they're all about that. But I'm like, no, I kind of want to go play this. Well, do it at your own detriment because when you come back, we're moving, we're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. They're not moving. They're gone. Like,
I will say Destiny though has lost a couple. Luca took a break. I took a break. Forte looks like he's taking a break. Like Destiny is kind of the same repetitive crap. I'll see you when Lightfall releases next year or whatever. I'll see you at the next expansion, because the best thing is the next expansion. Everyone's light level gets brought up to the same thing, so I ain't got to worry because everyone will start off at the same light level. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
All the work that grinding they did. It's like, hey guys, I'm here.
The only thing you miss out on is some guns or some season armor, or who cares? Like, I'll just see you when the expansion comes out, beat the expansion, and then put it down again.
There you go.
Well, I think, and I know that this isn't going to happen. This is just a self. I want this to happen. I want this. I hope they would do a Destiny 3 and, just really make the game even look better. It already plays great, but look better and just start over again, like completely. Not like these things where it's like, oh, well, Mooch, if you just get the new expansion, everyone's the same. Let me tell you something. It ain't the same. It's not the same. Like when you've missed an expansion or two, yeah, the level's there, but the knowledge and the lore and everything that's been going on for the past year and a half that you missed, everyone's talking, oh, you just got to go over here and meet so-and-so. Oh, go pick up that. And you bring it over. And I'm like, where and who and what are you talking about? So like, I really think that I would love Destiny to just have a Destiny 3 start over. I'm sure the community does not want anything to do with that idea. And that's fine. But that's what I would
just
like.
Go back to calling it Destiny, Mooch. Like just
Destiny.
Like,
yeah.
Actually, Mooch, everyone will be starting over because this next expansion is it. This is the end of the Light and Darkness series. Everything before this is null and void because we're going on to a brand new story after this next expansion.
Well,
So the whole thing with what we've done up to this point from Destiny 1, that story's over. So everyone will be on a brand new story. We'll probably be in some mystical universe hunting elves and ogres. I don't know.
Well, listen, I welcome an end to whatever this is now, and I welcome a new beginning. I really, really do with Destiny.
You are getting a new beginning.
I can't wait.
After this next expansion,
I might try to jump back in at that point. Then,
yeah, me too.
I felt so lost trying to do it. I was like, I give up.
And it's something.
Where do you play Destiny, Mooch? You play it primarily on Xbox, or?
Well, I have it on everything. I have it on now. I have it on PC. I have it on Xbox, and I have it on PlayStation. So as long as wherever you buy the expansion, you can just it carries your save over worry. So predominantly, I would say I'm probably playing on Xbox, but I also have the same latest expansion on PlayStation. So anywhere. Okay. That's what's great about the game. You can really play it anywhere you want. Shout out to Lord Metroid. He goes, since we're recommending games, he goes, I recommend Blasphemous 2. Great game. And I heard it is very good, to be honest with you. Heard it's outstanding.
Hey, people should play Cocoon, man. That Cocoon game is awesome.
I saw
Cocoon looks so good.
It's awesome, man.
I guess it's pretty difficult.
I would love to play Cocoon, but currently I have Eternites going on, and I'm still playing Starfield. And I'm still playing League of Legends, and I'm still playing Forza. So, of course, I'm kind of... Sea of Stars is on the backlog, as they say, and so is that. Armored Core's still on the backlog, because I just don't have time. Like, I can't get to Armored Core until
there's so much to play. So when you get a game that's saying, hey, man, I got 10 solid hours for you, man. I'm like, beautiful.
Yeah.
let's rock. Let's rock game.
After this conversation, you just made a great sales campaign for 10 hours. That sounds fantastic. Shout out to Hero Down Under. I appreciate that. Please do hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button, guys. I appreciate it. I do want to talk about this, so we'll start with Singer on this one. Singer, Redfall gets a 60 FPS patch along with a bunch of things. I have and by the way, shout out to Brap for posting this. The Redfall update enabled performance mode, improved PC performance. I'm not going to read them all. They're quite long. Addressed several edge case memory crashes. Addressed graphical corruption issues. Fixed an issue with resetting game settings to the default, etc., etc. It goes on and on. I think if you saw the patch notes, shout out to Verdict on Twitter. He goes, holy crap. He's like, they posted the notes. It's a book. So here's the thing, though. And then the great, I think is it Tom Henderson? He goes, Redfall has increased by 66%. They went from 35 players yesterday to 58. Or 25 to 58. So my question for you, Singer, here is this 60 frame patch, which some are even saying it's not really living up to the 60 frame patch. There's a couple videos out now where they did some testing and it dips into
I
the
played
40s.
it today, actually.
Where I want to, but Singer, where you mentioned this too. But Singer, do you think that this is a little too late, or it's right on time?
I mean, the ship's already. So there is no bounce back for this. Like, it's done. For one, it's not really Arcane. You know, it's not what I love about Arcane. Like, it's not Dishonored. It's not a whatever. Like, it was tragedy from the get-go. I was optimistic, and then it blew up in my face. And it's like, yeah, okay, I appreciate you put out the patch, but there's still a bunch of problems you haven't addressed. And this game just didn't resonate. It just died out. Yeah, sure, some people may love playing it, but I look at the numbers on Steam, and I'm like, this game's basically dead. Like, you know, nothing's going to revive it. Sea of Thieves had a great revival. That ain't going to happen here. Like, this game is on no streamer's radar.
Yeah.
I love the fact they finally put it out, and the 60 FPS on sticker on the box. Hey, there we go. Congratulations. Now it makes sense if you look at your box.
Right.
But there's still a caveat to that.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel bad for him, but it's not going to move the needle.
I think
if you enjoyed the game, you're just going to enjoy
it. Singer, I'm right there with you. I think everything you said is gospel. Worry, you had a couple of maybe you didn't mean them to be funny tweets, but I actually chuckled.
I didn't actually. You mean the screenshots?
No, when you said something, and I don't have it in front of me. Pardon me, but you said something to the effect of, "It's a lot smoother in gameplay, but it's still Redfall."
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't have a frame rate counter or anything like that, and I'm not really a big resolution or frame rate nut, but it definitely feels 1,000% better when you're playing it with the guns and aiming and shooting. But it's still Redfall. So unless they can create some sort of DLC that completely changes the core mechanics of the gameplay and make it interesting and the story more fun for somebody to sit down and play, it's not going anywhere. It's interesting that, you know, they had stories about Redfall's player count, and a couple hours later the patch comes out, and then the patch really doesn't change anything. There's still like, 36 people playing the game or 50 now or something like that, but not that I care about player count, but that seems to be what Microsoft likes to point to as a metric for success. So clearly not successful. Yeah, but from what I've played today, like I played pretty much an extra, hour and a half to 2 hours of it on my save file. It definitely feels much better. So, there's that.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, let's not overlook what we all asked for. Definitely wanted the 60 frames. They put their best value and effort out for that. That's great. Although your tweet really did hold more weight than you think it did. You're like, at the end of the day, it's still Redfall. They were still a lot of people were writing that the AI is still atrociously bad. There's still
the game is bad.
Pop in, yeah. The game, the game's
not. I mean, the game is like
no
one should be comparing any kind of comeback to Cyberpunk with this game. Like,
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. The Last of Us doesn't need a remaster. Redfall needs a remaster.
Yes.
Oh wow, remake! Actually, a remake.
A remake.
Yeah. Well, can we have a remake of Redfall?
Yes, please.
The concept is cool.
I'm an
right?
Arcane stand.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, man. This is like, whoa.
Yeah, the concept's cool.
I loved.
This is not my
Dishonored.
Arcane, man.
Yeah,
I love both Dishonored. I didn't like Prey though. Everybody loved Prey. I couldn't get into it.
Prey was great.
I like Prey.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love that game.
I even like Deathloop. I know most people didn't.
Oh, I did not like Deathloop.
Or they didn't like it until it hit Game Pass for some reason. I don't know how that works, but
that's how that usually goes.
Yeah, so how that usually goes. But yeah, when I played Redfall, I'm like, I get what they were probably trying to do, but it feels very much, and where you might agree with this, it feels like it got trapped in the single player as a standalone.
Oh, I hate that. I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. I hate that pitch. I hate it. I hate when they say, "Oh, it's a completely solo player experience, but you can play it with friends." That always means that the solo player experience sucks. It always means that.
Yep. Yeah. And then it's like, and it's attached to, well, we're going to do this because we need, again, longevity. We need, value. We need all those buzzwords, all those things, because we don't feel it can stand on its own. So you guys who really excel at, the immersive sim and the single player experience, go ahead and do your best with multiplayer. That's why let's go back to Scalebound, which everyone still feels is going to come out. When I saw Scalebound being shown, I'm like, I don't know what world Microsoft thought that Platinum could handle multiplayer.
Yeah.
That is not what they do. And I'm watching this thing, I'm like, this is going to be a nightmare. And sure enough, it was a nightmare. I'm like, you can't just push studios that's not their DNA to kind of keep doing or kind of push them into some major multiplayer thing.
Kind of like what's happening with Naughty Dog
off,
in the Last of Us factions.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Naughty Dog it's almost like they stepped into doing factions on, the original Last of Us. And it was kind of a thing people kind of got into. And it's like, well, people kind of like that. So go build a whole world around it. It's like, that was an additive to in a time when, multiplayer kind of came with a suite for single player and people kind of played with that and had some fun with it. But it wasn't a whole thing that we built out.
That's right.
So it makes sense when they sit down and go, if it's true, the peer review was like, no, this isn't going to hold anybody for any. Well, yeah, because the original didn't hold people for a very long time. It was just an added bonus to the single player experience to give the, again, appearance of value.
Yep. 100%. That's what we used to talk about, right? Value and what you were buying, what you were getting in your games. I remember those conversations. I will say this much because people.
Those were the days.
They really were. I'm going to go over and I'm going to ask the great Pio's opinion on this because I really do feel strongly about this, and I want to get his opinion before I give mine. So, Sony Pictures Core coming to PS4, PS5, offering exclusive benefits, including early access to select Sony Picture films, and this is coming now to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium members. And, it was funny, of course, the community that we watch on Twitter and read, of course, a lot of jokes jumping around. But the one thing that I really kind of liked about it was, you guys remember, I believe Amazon Prime, and correct me, guys, if I have it swapped. But you remember when you paid the extra money a month for the Amazon Prime and you got the 2-day delivery? And then Amazon grew into their TV services. Pardon me. And they said, basically, now you're going to get all these TV shows. And it didn't really start with TV shows. Remember, it was just like, they just had like basically stuff that was on NBC, movies. CBS, some movies, some old sitcoms, like series.
Now you get video games.
Right. But my point being, though, Brap, is I think this is kind of cool. Sony does a lot in movies. I'm already paying the price that I'm paying for it. I know it went up. People are upset with that. And I'm not defending the up in price. But if that's going to be the price, to say that you're now going to get movies that come out that are Sony, Sony made or Sony films, it's kind of a neat little thing. I mean, Pio, do you think that this is a good move that they're throwing this in there? I mean, or this doesn't do anything for you at all?
I think real quick though, Mooch, I think it's only premium tier that gets that. I don't think it's extra.
It's the two top tiers, right?
I was read it was.
Maybe you're thinking of Crunchyroll.
Well, Crunchyroll's also supposedly getting into the mix.
Yeah, Crunchyroll's being
rolled into.
I think Crunchyroll might be part of extra, but the core is only part of premium.
Core is only okay. Then I stand corrected, and thank you guys. That's right. You guys also have your ear to the ground. I was literally running around like mad today, so I appreciate that. But I would say that even premium, it's something they're throwing at you, and you're getting those 300 games. You're getting all the retro games. You're getting all the older PS1, PS2 games, PS3 games. Well, PS3 you're streaming, but you know what I mean, Pio. What do you think? Is this something that you actually think is a good move, or it didn't move the needle at all for you?
No, I think it's a great move. I don't think it's gonna get particularly new subscribers in there. Maybe a few ones, but I do think there's nothing to complain about. Like, you get more stuff out of it. I still don't think that's reasonable to the price hike. The price hike was pretty crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, they should definitely do more stuff like this. I'm more excited about Crunchyroll because we don't have that in Sweden at all. Like, you can't watch it. So if I can watch Crunchyroll via PlayStation Plus, then I will actually keep PlayStation Plus because that's something that I actually do want to watch. Long term, I do think this though. I think they've tried this before. I don't know if you guys remember. They've tried with PlayStation Plus to get UFC pay-per-views, boxing events. You get 20% off if you're a PlayStation Plus member. I do think more type of those deals are also coming. I'm not sure on which services, but I do think PlayStation Plus is going to combine with other services as well as maybe even music in some ways. Like, if you have PS Plus, you get all these other things cheaper in a way, and you get the movies more. Because game-wise, I'm not sure how much more money they can spend to get more games in there. like how much seriously, how much can Sony pay someone to put the game in PlayStation Plus like 6 months later if it's still selling?
Right.
They're gonna ask for a lot. Like you saw that Game Pass list, right? How much EA wanted for Star Wars?
Yep.
300 million.
Yes.
Like that's insane number. Like, and the most shocking to me was Suicide Squad for 250.
Yeah.
Which is probably just basically the budget of the game and the advertisement.
That's right.
It just tells you how expensive games are these days.
Well, that's so Microsoft flexed their muscles with their Game Pass, saying we're going to put day and date. Sony's definitely not doing that. That just doesn't make business sense for them. So they're using a different strength that they have, and that is music and movies.
Yeah.
Now the only thing is again, I read it. Maybe I read the article too fast. I could have swore it said extra and premium. But even if it's just premium, I do understand that. I think it would be worth their while to put it in extra or premium, or have certain things in extra, or like you say, maybe music and movies in premium, where extra only gets one of them. But it really does make sense to do that. That's one of Sony's strengths. I think that's something that, you know what I mean, Pio? I think that's something that they have to lean on because they can't do the other things that Microsoft's doing.
Nope. And also, like, keep in mind, Sony is what other things they're good at? They're very good at hardware, specifically like headphones. I do think at some point, maybe not in the next year, but next few years, like when you buy Sony headphones, they're pretty expensive, some of them. It's going to say on his website or like on any website, if you're a PlayStation Plus member, if you link your PSN account and it shows you're a PlayStation Plus member, you get like 15-20% off on new headphones. I do think even those type of things are going to come. But they're going to do whatever it takes to make like the highest tier, like the best for consumers, basically. If you're like a Sony fan and use all their products somehow, they're gonna get you into their own ecosystem by movies and music, I think, and hardware, other hardware too. Like you saw with the TV this week, the TV bundle they put out.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's things like that. I think they're gonna use all their strengths to basically sell you PlayStation and their services as much as possible.
And it makes sense. They're playing to their strength. Brap, what do you think? Is this a good strategic move for Sony, or is this really a nothing burger? I honestly, like I said, I look at it as, I try to do a comparison. Reminds me a lot of Amazon. We already had Amazon for the 2-day delivery. Then all of a sudden I came home one day and they're like, you can enjoy this now. And I was like, okay. Now, granted, since that announcement, Prime's gone up exponentially. So, right? So I'm not exactly
I'm laughing at Worry. Only Worry would say Caligula, by the way.
That is true. That is true.
I'm having a ball in the chat. I'm having a great time.
and of course I would understand what he's talking about.
Exactly.
But, go ahead, Mooch.
Sorry. Hey, Mooch, I got to run, bro. I'm sorry.
No problem, E. I'll do an outro for E. Thanks for being here tonight, but I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, man. Great panel, guys. Great talking to everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, I'll see you on the Redfall stream tonight.
Yeah.
You got it, man.
Thanks, Eric.
Later.
Appreciate it, buddy. Shout out to WoolleyGamer, by the way. Wooly, I'm definitely going to get to your super chat in a minute. Wooly's definitely having some great conversation in the chat. But Brap, like I said, I was excited about it when it was first brought up with Prime, and they said you have these things to enjoy. Not so excited now as the price is going up. But what is your thought when you read this? Was this something you were like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll either subscribe up or I'll keep my status where I am, or no, this didn't move it at all for you?
I mean, like it's a nice look. I'm not happy with the price increase.
No.
But it's a nice added thing. Like it's something I would definitely use.
Right.
May not be for everyone. I understand that, but it makes sense. Like that they would do this. I mean, I think we had talked about this on Brap a while ago that we were surprised that they hadn't like leveraged some of the other adjacencies like in entertainment, like music and movies and television, because they have a lot of that, right? And that kind of would just, to us, it just made sense. Like, why would they just include like the anime stuff, the movies, the television shows, the music, bundle all that in? I mean, everyone else is doing it. You mentioned Amazon Prime. This is very Apple-esque too, by the way.
Yes.
And Apple wants to keep you in the ecosystem, the Apple ecosystem, and Sony wants to do the same. They want to keep you engaged in their ecosystem as well. So right. I'm not surprised by this. I think some people will like it and others won't. But I actually like it. If I can get more value for, things that I'm interested in, they may have saved a potential customer. I'm actually now like leaning towards re-upping now, as opposed to when they announced the the price increase. I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to re-up now. But I'm actually considering it now about subscribe for another year.
Well, that's something right there. And I'll be honest with you. There's these are just coming to mind because I saw them. But the newer Spider-Man movies that have come out recently, the Spider-Verse movies, pardon me, Uncharted, the movie. I believe they said the new Gran Turismo movie is going to be coming to this service within the next month or two. If it's not going there already, I don't remember because it's already available now. But this is something. Worry. What do you think? Is this something that would keep you, engaged longer, or maybe get you to go from an extra to a premium, or stay in premium?
I'm already in premium, but I jumped into premium because of the PS1, PS2, and PS3 classics and PSP games that were going to come.
Yes.
But I feel like they kind of let me down on that front when it comes to PS2 games and PS3 games streamed are just not good. I would rather them just do the work to get PS3 games to work natively, or even just remaster them and sell me those. Like sell me Infamous 1 and 2,
right,
and 3 in a pack for $40. I'd buy them in a heartbeat, or the Killzone games, or any number of games. What was the game? Goddess of War. What was that called? Oh my God.
This is where Singer comes in.
It was like God of War, but it was the redheaded girl. It was oh my
Caligula?
God.
What?
I forget the name of it, but no. The movies. It was PlayStation 3. It was they called it Heavenly Sword. Yes. Yeah, that game. I just don't like streaming them games. I don't like streaming games, period. But I have the app. I checked it out. The movies that are free, obviously, just like every other service that gives you free movies. Here's the latest release from 1982. Well, okay, and all the new stuff. Of course, you have to purchase, but it's not enough for me. So when premium runs out for me, I'll probably just stay in plus. Unless something major happens, but for me, no, not enough.
Caligula in there,
the one,
right?
The one
in VR.
I've found the extra to be kind of the sweet spot.
Did you say VR worry?
Yes.
Oh my God.
PSVR 2 needs some games bad.
So I'll quickly shift over real quick. WoolleyGamer here, he gives a super chat, says Halo, Redfall, Starfield, and Forza Motorsport get praise for having basic features while doing nothing particularly well. The participation awards are getting old fast. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Are they moving the bar enough? I've seen a lot of YouTube channels start to focus in. They're really focusing in on it's not about Game Pass anymore, but the products in Game Pass. Is this?
That's a good idea. It should be that. It shouldn't be about the products and not just the an umbrella shouldn't make the stuff underneath of it better if it sucks.
Right.
You should base it. You should base it on the individual products. So I don't know. People seem to like Halo Infinite.
You're making too much sense, man. Stop. You're making too much sense.
People seem to like Halo Infinite now, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's Halo got updated, better release. Bad. The gameplay was always good. The content wasn't there. That's the problem with Halo. The gameplay was top tier. I thoroughly enjoyed multiplayer. But the problem is content. Right, so they remedied that. So, but Halo is a whole thing in of itself, the whole studio and management and whatever that went into that. Now, Starfield, it's the Bethesda formula, as you expect. It's Bethesda RPG. What were you expecting? But they changed up quite a few of the things, and it's a new IP. So, okay, if you're pumping out a new IP, I wanted to give it a bit of leniency. Forza, they rebuilt the game. It hit. I mean, did it hit like probably people thought it would? No, but it's great game, great score, having super fun. I'm glad Forza Motorsport is back. So I don't think you have to base it on the game instead of just, these games are made for Game Pass. Because clearly these are not small games. Like Starfield's not a small game. Forza's not a small game. So, yeah.
The only thing I would say about that, though, is that these games were in development before Game Pass, so...
these were after Game
Pass. Starfield
Game
was in development for PlayStation 5 before Bethesda was acquired.
but Game Pass came out way back when, so...
Right, but the games were in development before. They weren't built underneath of Game Pass. Right, they weren't built with the idea of spending a certain amount of money for a subscription service. I don't think we've seen a game yet like that. Maybe the next
Like
new IP will be that.
Avowed might be, yeah.
Right.
No. Avowed isn't, definitely. Obsidian is not that kind of studio. Like, that game is going to turn out the way it is, with or without Game Pass, with or without Microsoft. So, that's always going to be what it's be, because that is Obsidian. If you played Obsidian games since, like, KOTOR...
Yeah, but you got to remember, and I know a lot of people don't believe this, but you say with or without Microsoft, they are Microsoft.
They are now, but Obsidian has like, you look at Avowed and you're like, this is Obsidian. Like, you can see it, you can see the Outworlds in it, you can see the Obsidian flavor, and it's gonna be a good, like, a game that would take built for Game Pass. Like, Game Pass would benefit games like Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment,
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
Like, not so much your big games like Flight Sim, like Unavowed, like Hellblade 2. That isn't going to be built for Game Pass. Like, stuff.
It has to be built for Game Pass because the economics are it's going into a subscription service for $15. It's not $70 purchase.
Well, yeah, but obviously you have multiple monetary fronts because you'll have the people buying it on PC, you'll have the people buying it, and then the people who play it through Game Pass.
Or
so
there's $30 early access like they're doing with Forza.
Mm-hmm. So there's multiple different revenue streams because PC and Steam, they're going to buy stuff like Avowed. Like, they're going to jump all over that. So you're getting a huge revenue stream from the PC crowd. So because you're not just relying on Xbox anymore. Now you've got PC to get some sales. Like Starfield would have sold incredibly well for what it was.
Absolutely.
But it's the Game Pass argument. I still can't see it yet because we haven't seen anything that, built the whole built for Game Pass thing. So we'll have to see how it goes. Plus, these games are supposed to boost up numbers, right? So until they announce numbers, we don't know if it's having an effect. Because if the numbers keep going up, you keep releasing these games, then it starts to make sense. But if the numbers stay stagnant,
I mean, it hasn't made sense. We don't have any. We've had numbers from Microsoft and Game Pass subscribers for 2 years.
Exactly, and that's the issue.
And then we have Bobby Kotick on under oath saying that the model doesn't make business sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make business sense. But clearly, someone at Microsoft is smoking something good because they went with the idea.
They definitely are.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have the leaked email of the C-level executive of Microsoft questioning. Game Pass and that moat they built. I mean, there's a lot of, and people get upset when you talk about this stuff, and no one should. I mean, the conversations we're having are based off of people in the industry that are basically saying, you have Bobby Kotick, you have Strauss Zelnick, even Sean Layden. But you've had, people who are behind some of the biggest AAA games saying it doesn't make sense. It makes more sense for, older titles. But not necessarily AAA titles per se. So it's going to be interesting. And when I look at like some of these games, like we're talking about, like I see people saying like Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, good games. But when I'm looking at games that when I'm looking at games, we talk about like games and the impact that games have. I'm looking at games that impact and move the needle for platforms. Those are going to be typically historically are AAA games. So it's going to be interesting to see what Starfield does. In terms of maybe moving the needle for Game Pass, I'm not
you mean
sure
September, like September MPD. You mean?
No.
Yeah, I think with MPD, I think we'll see some knock-on effect from Starfield. I don't think they're going to win MPD in terms of console sales, but I'm curious to see what the knock-on effect to Game Pass is going to be with Starfield. Because to me, Starfield is the biggest like AAA game that had a lot of conversation around it in the community. You saw a lot of people talking about Starfield, good or bad. People were talking about it.
Me and Brap,
what the knock-on effect is that game's going to be on Game Pass.
We were talking behind the scenes, and the thing is Starfield holds a lot more weight than I think even a lot of us give it credit for. Starfield is 25 years in the making. It's Todd Howard's baby. It's linked to Bethesda. It's a Bethesda game, right? It's linked to Bethesda.
Todd Howard's first new IP in like 20 years.
First new IP in 25 years. But my point is, if a game is big, and I understand it's a new IP, so it's not like a Fallout, like a Fallout 5 or an Elder Scrolls 6, that may do more. But if a game in the near future, because Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5, guys, let's not even talk about that. That's end of this generation at your earliest. So realistically speaking, if Starfield doesn't move the needle in Game Pass subscribers, and it doesn't move consoles. Games like Hellblade 2, and I know a lot of people that are listening to this are going to go, what? I understand. Everyone on this panel and everybody in the chat, let's all take for granted. Ready? We're all excited for Hellblade 2. Everybody. But Hellblade 2 and Avowed are not going to move the needle if Starfield didn't. Starfield has everything behind it. It's like that when it's 4th and 1, sports. But when you have to actually get that quarterback sneak and you've got everybody pushing you to get over that 1 yard that you need, Starfield had all that momentum. So it's curious to see what Starfield's able to do for Xbox on subscription services numbers and consoles. Because again, I don't think like a Hellblade 2 would be enough to get that football over that 1 yard to get the first down. I don't.
But what's going to get the football over the 1 yard line or that extra yard? And if you listen to like a lot of the leaks, read a lot of the leaks with Phil Spencer and the FTC hearing. I mean, Phil's pretty much laid it out. Some of the live chat said 11 out of 10 games not going to do it. And Phil's right. Like, it's not. It's going to be the growth from Game Pass is going to come outside consoles. If you look at what the hardware, you look at what the hardware division said to Phil Spencer about where they see Game Pass needing to be sustainable. This was an internal leak. They said 100 million. And Phil under oath is saying
it has to be more.
No, it needs to be more.
Yeah, more.
130 million by 2030. And if it doesn't happen, we may be having a different conversation about Xbox. I mean, those were Phil Spencer's own words under oath. So last we heard 25 million, the growth isn't going to come from consoles. The growth is going to come from probably mobile and PC.
PC.
And cloud. Yeah, cloud. Yeah, PC, mobile, cloud. Yeah, exactly.
Cloud's still a ways out, so I would think it would be mobile and PC
so,
for the near future.
I mean, even if they...
I'm sorry, Dusty, real quick. So the way you get there quickly by 2030 is through acquisitions. And I don't think they're not done acquiring. And that, to me, we had Colin on. By the way, if you haven't checked out shameless plug, Mooch.
Oh, no
problem. You haven't checked out the Brap with Colin Moriarty. We talked about this. That's a little. Thank you, Kobe. That's a little concerning when you talk about acquisition consolidation in the industry to brute force your way to a number of subscribers. Like that's like, do we want that? Like,
but I think you assume though, just because they buy everything, you assume that people are still going to subscribe. I mean, you have to give people a reason.
But think about what he said though. Where he talked about Nintendo. He talked about
that's not going to happen though. That's just delusion though.
But he talked about Steam. So if you buy games, right, and you get like an Ubisoft, and now like I'm just using Ubisoft example, right? And now you're going to get Assassin's Creed, and even Assassin's Creed's multi-plat, right? For argument's sake, you still have to, let's say, create a Xbox account to be able to access that game on your PlayStation console, and that's considered an active user. So,
I mean, who has over 130 million subscribers right now that as a service that is on?
When you start acquiring,
you're talking like a Disney.
No, I'm asking for an example now of something.
Disney's over. Disney's over 200. Netflix is over 200.
I'm sorry. What is Netflix?
I would assume like 200. And I think they said didn't they say Disney at one time? I don't know if they're there now. I thought they may have hit upwards of 250. I don't know.
Okay. So and Microsoft wants to get to 130 million by just being outside of console on PC and mobile by 2029 or something like that, or 2020 or 2030.
If you look at the leaks too, worry about what the hardware division was saying. They were actually recommending that Microsoft maybe look at like x84 architecture, I think it was. Basically, they were saying like maybe not looking at putting out hardware that competes at PlayStation, but at the bare minimum is enough to be considered next gen.
Also, so, I mean, with the Game Pass thing, like, so long as they, obviously, in order to increase your subscriber count, you need constant quality releases, because people stay subscribed, because they're like, okay, cool, so I know this game's coming, this game's coming, and I don't know much about American football, but you do have your star quarterback, Tom Brady, coming in with Activision, and that should boost some numbers up, so, if you needed an extra 10 or 20 or whatever, I mean,
The thing about Activision for the near future, you can't never speak in absolutes, right? But for the near future, like Call of Duty, right? Because Diablo just came out. The Diablo 5 is not going to come out for like 10 years. World of Warcraft, that doesn't move the needle on console. But
nope.
So I mean, when it comes down to it, it's Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is going to be on PlayStation for the next 10 to 13 years. So it's the same as Destiny. We had Destiny talk a little while ago tonight. Destiny's owned by Sony, right? But Bungie, pardon me. But my point being, but it's available on Xbox. So Xbox players, like if I'll use Forte as an example, only because Forte's been on the show and he said this. Forte he didn't go and jump to PlayStation because PlayStation, it didn't change anything really for him. So it's the same thing with Call of Duty for the foreseeable future. Everyone goes, well, but Game Pass. But you got to understand, by the time Game Pass gets at this generation, it's 2025 at the earliest. You know, if you're a Sony PlayStation only person and you have all your digital content, all your peripherals, your VR2s, your PlayStation portals, you're just going to pay the $70 and play it on PlayStation. You're not going to go buy a $500 console and then do a $16.99 a month deal because one game you like is on a service. And now there's even talks. We don't know this yet. None of this is. But there's a lot in some of the crosstalk that's been going on with what's going on in the courts is that it's possible that even Call of Duty may end up in PS Plus. So, again, Microsoft would probably get the beta early and they'll get more of the skin packs and the this and that, right? And they'll get all that stuff because they're the owner. But if it ends up where Call of Duty goes into PS Plus on the same day as it goes into Game Pass, that's really for naught on both sides. So,
but,
you know.
Here's the thing is, Mooch, but see, now, here's the thing. If you know Call of Duty's history on Steam, you know they removed it and people hate it. Now, you could probably get some people who refuse. Because remember, they don't accept bullshit on PC. Like, you bullshit them, they will laugh your ass out the room. Right. They don't give a shit who you are.
Right.
And Call of Duty threw up the 70 and was... I guarantee you, when the Call of Duty, some people will hop across into Game Pass, and even if someone who used to buy the game on Xbox goes into Game Pass, if they weren't already subscribed to Game Pass, that's a new subscriber. So the number goes up. Regardless if they would have bought the game, but now they play it through Game Pass. If they didn't already own Game Pass, then they would go through PC Game Pass. That's where they said they're having the most growth right now is PC Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know a lot of people ain't going to pay, if you could get it in Game Pass, they're probably not going to pay the 70 on Steam, because Activision, they have a history, and it's not a good history. So, I mean, anything is possible. It's all rumors and stuff right now, but we'll just have to see how it plays out, because it could do well, it could crash and burn. Who knows?
Well, you know, I'm trying to get my over-under here. Brap, I got one more for you here. This is really Starfield releasing so closely to Cyberpunk, because I know you had so much fun with that today. Did that ruin a little bit of hype for Starfield? Do you think that? And again, I'm just saying this is not really to go with what you were talking about earlier today. This is more of its own standalone question. But with the fact that Starfield came out September 6th for everybody, September 1st for the early adopters, and then Cyberpunk's 2077's Phantom Liberty it did better, I think, than even some people were expecting. Did it take a little bit of the hype away? Because everybody's been just comparing Starfield to Baldur's Gate and Starfield to Cyberpunk. And it's like, did it take a little bit of it away or not? Not really.
I think what it may have done being sandwiched between those two games, I think naturally it's probably going to be compared because they're within that RPG genre, although they're different flavors of RPGs. But like for me at least, I'll only speak for myself. Coming off of Baldur's Gate 3, diving into Starfield, and it's funny, I was saying this to Logic. I'm like, I really hope going into Starfield, I said this to him, that I'm not thinking about Baldur's Gate 3 because I wanted to come in this with like a clean slate. Like I didn't want to think about worry. Jesus. I didn't want to be I didn't want to think about like trying to compare Starfield to Baldur's Gate 3 because they're different games, right? They're RPGs, but they do things differently. But as I was playing Starfield, like the voice acting or lack thereof, yes, I think Death Singer said this earlier. Like it's very much a Bethesda game. It is, but it also made me think like maybe Bethesda's design of games is a little dated. And then I go jump into Phantom Liberty, and I'm like, my goodness, like this is like night and day. Just the scale scope of the world feels more alive. Where I felt like in Bethesda, like not Bethesda, but with Starfield, like some of the maps of the cities, like New Atlantis, didn't feel as alive as I would expect. You know, it just didn't have like the one thing that Starfield, like people comparing like Starfield to Skyrim. When Todd Howard said, "Oh, we got this game Skyrim. See that mountain? You can actually go there now." And I remember like playing the previous Elder Scrolls games. And in one particular, Morrowind. I remember playing Morrowind on the original Xbox, which was a technological feat for consoles at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember like playing that game and seeing mountains. I'm like, I can't go there. There's an invisible wall. I can't go there. And so when Todd Howard said, "You see that mountain? You can go there now." That was huge. Like, that was a next step in the progression of Bethesda games. I don't see that with Starfield. I don't see that next step with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was further reinforced to me by the scale scope of Phantom Liberty, the voice acting, the how the depth of the characters in Baldur's Gate 3, like the characters are so varied. They have their own personalities. They don't feel like robots. They don't feel like mannequins.
Yeah.
Like Starfield had all of that.
Other.
Yeah, they talk exactly. And
Yeah.
like it just Phantom Liberty just reinforced to me that there's elements of Starfield that just feel very dated. Again, not that I think Starfield's a terrible game. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's a great game. But being between these two games, or being between like the fact that I played these two games before, like I played Baldur's Gate 3 before, and then I played Starfield after, Cyberpunk afterwards. It just reinforced to me that this game just feels dated. And
so if player count is the metric, there are over 73,000 people playing Starfield right now, and over 250,000 people playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Now, you see, this makes sense to me, because I come at this from, I absolutely love Western RPGs, and outside of the Twitterverse, because the Twitter sphere loves doing these comparisons of Baldur's Gate, Starfield, Cyberpunk, whatnot, all for the fanboy shit. But if you look at the generic PC space, like, all games get their love equally, because they're nice and spaced out. Like, the people, we enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3. We finished it by the time Starfield came out. That's why we loved the release date being a month ahead of Starfield. And then Phantom Liberty releases quite a while after Starfield.
Mm.
So you can play each one and get a feel for it. Bear in mind, these games aren't just going to be here for a year. These games are going to still be here in 10 years, right? Because the modding community is going to go ham. These games aren't just going to be here for 1 year. So people are playing them. And Cyberpunk has got whatever it has, and it had a fantastic resurgence. And it's gonna do what it does, but I don't think it affected. I just think people played Starfield, they had their fill, the ones that had their fill, or didn't like it. Then they moved on to the next thing, which was going to be the Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, or they would have played it till then. And then people who were playing Baldur's Gate would have picked up Starfield. Like, I did that. I paused Baldur's Gate. And then I was like, right, let me go on to Starfield. Let me have my fill, finish Baldur's Gate, go back to Starfield. So in the Twitter sphere, everyone loves comparing Baldur's Gate and Starfield. But outside of that, like in the actual space where these games will sell the most, like they all get equal love. Like, I don't see on the Steam community page people having all three games comparing. No one cares. They're all just loving the games. So it's, it is what it is.
I would say that those conversations aren't happening though. Like, again, like my perspective isn't based on anything Twitter. My perspective is just based on the fact that the order in which I played those games. And and actually, if I think about before Baldur's Gate 3, I'm coming off of Tears of the Kingdom, Final Fantasy 16, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, and then Phantom Liberty.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think that, again, and not that Starfield's, again, I want to reinforce, not that I think Starfield's a bad game. I think it's a good game. But I think for me, the other games just reinforce, for me at least, in my experience, that there are elements of Starfield that feel very dated. And I was hoping that we would have that Skyrim moment with Starfield. I don't feel was there. Like where
it wasn't, Brap. It wasn't there, and that was one of the things. Like Worry said earlier, I'm not a game developer, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I get that whole thing. Okay, but I was watching this, and they put together 2 45-minute directs when they showed us this game before it came out, and I'm like, this game looks like more like a Fallout in space, and I literally get reamed out for saying that. You can't say
I thought Fallout 4 was better. I'm
not even going on comparisons, but it definitely felt like more of a Fallout in space. And now after playing it, it's still It's not. Even Todd said Skyrim in space. It's not Skyrim in space at all. Really, I don't see that much at all.
That was my biggest disappointment with it. Is it was pitched as being like the evolution of a game like Skyrim, but a different IP, and it's not. There isn't that emergent gameplay that Skyrim has. I mean, wandering around Skyrim now after playing it for hundreds and hundreds of hours, I'm still meeting people who come up to me and offer me side quests or things to do. So yeah, the world is just not livable like that, the way Skyrim is. Hopefully, maybe the next Elder Scrolls game is like that. I don't know.
Right. The thing is, I separated it into, because Baldur's Gate 3 is the pinnacle of an RPG. If you go down a checklist of what makes a top
of a CRPG,
of just any RPG, I challenge you to, like, outside of the graphics, the writing, the storytelling, the characters, the interactions.
Why do you disagree? I'm curious.
What can you do? Like, why do you disagree? What game does everything better than Baldur's Gate?
Well, I mean, it's all opinion. Like, you saying it's the best ever is an opinion. I'm not saying that my opinion is a fact. I'm just saying I don't think it's the best RPG for me. I'm not a CRPG fan. I'm not an isometric top-down random battle type of an RPG game player. For me, the Elder Scrolls series would be better for me if I had to compare them. But I understand that in the space that Baldur's Gate 3 sits in the CRPG space, because it is a very different genre, it's the pinnacle for people who like that. It doesn't resonate with me.
See, I don't put it in just the CRPG genre, because I bundle all the RPGs together, because they all deserve to be measured equally. Like, I'd measure Horizon, I'd measure The Witcher 3, I'd measure Wasteland 3. Outer Worlds, like, you put them all into the same category, despite what they are, they're still RPGs. And then base them on, like, when I saw Starfield, it's like, this is a Bethesda game, I know what I'm getting into. It's going to be a great game, it's not going to be a good game. It's not going to be a fantastic game, is what I meant. Now, Cyberpunk, I was like, okay, coming from the Witcher series, I have an expectation. So, and it is a great game. Would I say it's a fantastic top tier game? Back then, no. Now, okay, we can have that conversation. But Baldur's Gate 3, it just hit it. The bar is just so high right now for me, because the character interactions and just what you could do in the world and how you affect it, it has literally the entire checklist of what makes a great RPG, in my opinion. It ticks every single box. There isn't a box missing. You can't say, but this is... No. You just tick the boxes because it just has everything. That's why I put it up in the pinnacle of what an RPG can be, because a lot of great RPGs are out there, like Cyberpunk, but it's still missing. Like, would you say the character interactions are amazing? The NPCs, the quests.
Yeah.
Like,
I would agree with you. The character interactions on Baldur's Gate 3, and the dialogue choices, and just the dice, the roll of the die. The fact, look, and I'll take it like the fact that they nailed the elements of D&D in this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like literally copies all the levels from actual D&D. Like, when you're level 3, you get these skills. That's copied from like the 6th iteration of D&D.
Yeah. Like, they nailed it, Kofi, in Death Singer. They nailed that. That hasn't been easy to do in other D&D like games that I've played.
Yeah, see, I know that Baldur's Gate. I mean, it's very. I'm still kind of intrigued to try it, but like I wouldn't go pick it up right now with all the games we have. But that game is.
Hey, Stinger, who's your love interest, by the way? I meant to ask you that.
Well, I've had Azale, I've had Shadowheart. I mean, if I had to pick,
Shadowheart and Karlak for me.
Karlak is like I would chug 100 fire resistant potions. I mean, I would. It's just a fact of life. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, Mooch, I'd be interested after you get it. I don't think you're going to like it, but I'd be interested to know what your opinion is.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would.
The last thing I would say is that game has multiplayer for the entire campaign.
Oh, the co-op is
the co-op is ridiculous.
Here's the thing: I don't usually like co-op for these types of games, but the fact that it's an entire option, that's awesome. Just awesome.
I have 2 saves. I have my individual save, and then shout out to Gaming Addict, Red Hood, and we did co-op, and it is the most hilarious because it's dice roll. Like I threw a firebomb and I killed Addict, and then Red Hood pushed me off a bridge because he was aiming for the. And you get into some hilarity. But obviously you miss the character interactions, but you're interacting between yourselves because you have to so who's got the highest charisma? Because if your charisma's higher than mine, I need you to go talk to this person. Or, oh, by the way, there's a gorge. Oh, but I have the ability to cast flight to the entire party. So it's like, I'll just take us across, whatever.
The captain flight comes in huge, by the way.
Oh, it does. Spells, and I'm multi-classed, of course, but the game is just so feature complete that it's like you don't miss anything. You have a full experience. Yes. I didn't come away from the game.
That's a great point.
Wanting more.
I literally sorry, I didn't interrupt. Really quick, I killed a character that I thought was like a throwaway character, and then I won't spoil anything. But then I see people posting like, "Oh, I have this character." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah."
Oh, really? So what happens? What happens in situations for people that don't know? Where Singer said he was playing with Addict and he was playing with shout out to Red Hood as well. When you guys actually killed each other in the game, how does that? I mean, do you just respawn back, or did you lose something that was quite valuable?
You can respawn certain key characters. I don't know if I can respawn the one that I killed because I killed that person in a way that they weren't recruited.
Yeah,
so I don't think there's an option.
Is it the goblin person? Because initially in Act 1, I didn't know you could even recruit that person.
It is in Act 1.
But because
I'll have to DM you. I'll DM you the name.
Yeah. Because there's someone that you don't think is recruitable. You can actually recruit this person. I didn't know this. I went in there and just went wholesale murder massacre. And then someone said, "Oh,
you might be talking about the same thing."
Yeah, right. And I was like, "Wait, really? No." I'm like, hang on a minute.
It must be the same character. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
This conversation, because you guys are keeping things secret, this is like a 12th grade math assignment, and there's missing variables all over this thing.
You know what's interesting, Destinger? Like what you're describing, and this is it's funny. I was actually talking to somebody who had played Dungeons and Dragons and had been a dungeon master for 20 something years, and he says to me, he goes, "The brilliance with Baldur's Gate 3 is when you're a dungeon master, there are choices that are very black and white. There's no black. There's not many. There are choices and decisions in this game that are very gray."
Oh yeah. Like your moral compass takes over.
Yes. And sometimes what you think's a good moral choice isn't necessarily a good choice,
and it has repercussions later.
Yeah.
What some of the stuff you do in Act 1, repercussions later. So when you make a choice in this game, remember, this could have consequences later down the line. That's how D&D is. You make a choice, and then, for all you know, the world could end because you made this choice when you should have made the other choice. Be careful on who you murder, what you murder. Also, did you let Astarion drink have a bite? Or
no,
did
I
you say
didn't.
No.
I said no.
Oh, wow, really? Oh, come on!
I did, but I
come
was like
on!
fuming. I did, but I was fuming about it. I was like, man, I'm gonna shank you next time this happens, man.
I said
So
no.
I
I said no. I'm good.
So,
you don't need to bite
I gotta
me.
go. I gotta
I'm
go
good.
back. I gotta go back and ask. I gotta ask Pio a question though. Pio, if you don't mind, I do have to ask Pio a question because Pio, you were very loud on Twitter about Starfield, and we went from Starfield over to Baldur's Gate. And I apologize. We're gonna have to do a dedicated Baldur's Gate podcast. But I want to ask Pio. Pio, what? I know you completed it. I think you said when you completed it, you were at 90 hours. Don't quote me, Pio. Maybe it was a little less.
Yeah, it was 90. Yeah,
90, right?
90.
Well,
Yeah.
Pio, you went into it saying, "Hey, listen, I'm predominantly a PlayStation gamer, but the hell with it. I'm going all in on Starfield." And I happened to read a little bit, but I want the audience to hear your thoughts. Before expectations, your while you were playing, and your after. I think there's 3 different emotions going to be coming out of Pio right now, right? You're going to have your before you went into it, this game's new, all the hype, sat down, everyone says it, you got to play it for like 30 hours before you really get the groove, and then you played 90 and finished it. Pio, how did you start and where did you end with Starfield?
Well, I started off as a normal RPG game, right? Or I would say normal Bethesda game. So I tried to go to different planets and explore as much as I could. The problem is that in normal RPG games from Bethesda, you can do that, right? Because it's an open world. You can go anywhere. The thing about this game is like you explore planets. So let's say I want to go to a galaxy or whatever, a solar system. And that solar system is like level 40. I'm on level 5. There's going to be pirates there, like going out of space. They have a way better ship than me. I can't do anything about to them. So, like, it is hard from that perspective to go anywhere you want because you can go to most places, right? Like level 5, level 10. But if you want to go truly anywhere at any point, you just can't because you have to level up.
Right.
And for the first like 10, 15 hours, I was basically playing the game forcefully wrong. Where like, I mean, you can play the game like that if you want to, but if you just do the factions, if you do side missions, if you do main missions, and let them guide you where you're supposed to go, then I think you can have a better time. That's why I think some people struggle with the first 20 hours, some people struggle with 5 hours, because it's very unique or very different, I would say, from the other games where like it's more mission driven versus like open world driven. Because it's not even an open world; it's like an open space. It has so many planets and solar systems.
Yes.
So like I feel like for anyone to try to play the game like a normal RPG, they're gonna hate the game until they figure out how to play it. But I also think most people are gonna give up and just this is not for me, because like they can't play the game like a normal RPG game. Like I would say you have to play the game like a semi-open world game, not an open world game, to really enjoy it.
So how did you? How did you get at the end? At the end, how did you feel? Because I think what you just said. I've got 30 hours into it. As I think Singer used these words. I like that. I got my fill. I've kind of moved on from it. Doesn't mean I won't go back because I don't feel like even where I left off. If I went back, it's been about a week and a half since I went back. I don't think I even feel like I missed anything. I can go right back into it. So Pio, where are you now? Would you say you're as hyped as you were before you started, a little less, or just kind of in the middle?
Well, I would say this. I wanted the game to be like I wanted the game to be like a game for like Zelda was for Switch or God of War was for PS4. If that makes sense. For
Yes.
Xbox.
Yes.
No, I don't think it was that, but that's what I want. But I didn't expect that though. It's a very different thing. I expected it to be a great game, and it's basically was. It was a great game, but what's weird about it is, and I hate to say this because it's gonna like people go. I can't say why it's that. It's obviously a spoiler, but the best part of the game, the absolutely best part, is when you beat it and you start New Game Plus, and I can't tell you why.
I was spoiled on that, and I also thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the end of Starfield?
Yeah, I think.
That was that. You know what's interesting
cool.
about that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that was the best part. And like I didn't know, like if I can tell someone that, like I understand what people say you have to rush the story, because in a way I agree and in a way I disagree, because you're gonna miss some things obviously, but at the end you're gonna replay the whole game from a different perspective.
Right. It's almost another game.
Yeah. It's basically you start a new playthrough, but it's not just another playthrough. It's like, and the new game plus, it's a part of the core game. It's not a normal new game plus, and it's done in a way where like, okay, you're supposed to replay it a lot of times, and I can't tell you why, basically.
No, and that's the intriguing part, and that's why I thank Singer for sending me the mods. I as much as I want the achievements, and there's an achievement there's a mod to get the achievement. So Singer's already taken care of me, which I appreciate. I that's the part. I actually watched the kind of funny review of Starfield, and I don't usually go to them for reviews, but this one here was done very well, and they literally everyone on the panel said what you just said, Pio. They said they wouldn't tell us, which I'm glad. I still don't know. They were, and I appreciate you and Worry not spoiling it for the audience because a lot of people probably didn't get to it yet. But but I will say that they made it very clear that you should enjoy the game. Don't rush to finish it because of this. But finishing the game changed their opinion on the game. He goes, if I'd given a number or a real review before I finished it and after, it would have been two different reviews.
Yeah,
so
definitely at least a score up, I would say. Like if you give it if you think the game is an 8 and you get a new game plus, you probably think it's a 9. I think that's the most common.
You know what? The best way to describe it without ruining it is, I know people are like, I don't want to play through 40 hours just to get to a good part of a game or for a game to be good. Okay, I get that, but it's kind of like when you go see like an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
And you watch the entire movie and then the end, you're like, oh my God. Right?
Yeah.
So it took all of that time to get there for that payoff. And it is interesting when you get there. I'll give it that.
Okay, well, you guys might have just talked me into going back and playing that.
It's worth it.
I'll say this. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, because some of the side quests are just, they lead one into the other, like, I was stuck in New Atlantis for a while. Just because I did a quest, which led into another quest, which then led to something else, and the faction quests are actually really, 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 really good. Like, I love the Vanguard quest. So it's worth having an explore because you come across a really interesting side quest, like and you also bump into some off the wall shit just randomly in space, and it's fun. It is a good game. But yeah, go ahead, Kofi.
I would think, and Kofi, I'll give you the mic. Real quick question from Brian East in the chat. He says a comparison question. Just yes or no. You guys don't have to get into it. He says, "Is it like BioShock Infinite, mind-blowing finish at the end? Is it that kind of?"
It's similar. It's like that, but it's not. I can't really talk about it without ruining it. Like,
you can't say it. Like you just have to play it. If you want to like it.
No, and that's the best advice, Pio. Go ahead, Kofi. I'm sorry I took the mic away.
Yeah, I just want to say I am typically a Bethesda hater. I'll just put this totally out there. I did not really enjoy Skyrim. I definitely did not enjoy Fallout 4. But hearing about how the New Game Plus works for Starfield, I was very impressed. I'll just say that. As a person, you'll never really hear me say something nice about the gameplay for either of these titles. But what they did, that actually intrigued me enough to say maybe when it's on sale, I'll go and purchase Starfield. So I just throw that out there.
So wait, Kofi, you said you have or have not played it then? You're going to?
Yeah, I've only tried like the first few minutes on a friend's PC. I haven't purchased it myself at all.
Okay.
So, I was at first like, nah. And then I heard about some of the spoiler things. And I was like, oh, that's actually really cool.
Hey, Kofi, are you planning on getting it on PC?
I would get it on PC, yes.
Oh, Steam sales. Just wait.
Yeah,
the Steam sales got you. Like, you give it a little bit, you'll get like it's 70-80% off. Like, I buy games that I don't even play; they just go straight to the backlog just because how cheap they are. I probably have 180 games that I bought and have never played once, just because I was in the Steam sale and they were like 80% off. Okay, I'll buy it. Will I play it? Probably never. But
I just made a note for all you Mooch fans out there. Game share with Death Singer. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got my notes down. Death Singer, that's outstanding to know.
I wouldn't, Mooch. I wouldn't because 180 are rookie numbers. Hardcore people have like 500 plus games in their backlog.
I know.
So
I know. But you got me beating the backlog category. I have a high number. That is staggering. Because realistically, there's even with all the games you've mentioned that you've beaten, like literally, there's not enough time in the hourglass. There's just not enough sand in the hourglass. It's unbelievable. I do want to say this much. I want to say thanks to everybody. What an outstanding panel, outstanding chat. I told these guys 2 hours. We did just about 3 because the conversation was just flowing. And when we have this kind of harmony on the show, I just don't want to pull the plug. I just want to keep going and going. Everything just kind of laps right into another great topic, and then we kind of just made our own. But I am very proud of us. We actually did about 6 or 7 topics tonight, so bravo, everyone on the panel. Definitely pat yourself on the back. We don't usually get a chance to do that. Please, guys, before you leave, hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please consider joining the channel, too, if you don't mind. That really helps everything out. And I do want to go in reverse order here with the great creative Kofi. Kofi, listen, outstanding gift you gave me by showing up today when me and you spoke earlier today. It didn't sound like it was going to happen. So great to have you here, Kofi. Let people know where they can find you, and I appreciate you making time for us tonight.
Absolutely, guys. You can catch me on Twitter as creative_Kofi talking about game imports. Currently, I'm playing East 10, which just came out in Japan. We have no idea what it's coming out in the States, but I am 13 hours in, and it's very good. East 9 is probably my favorite East. So East 10 coming out, it might knock off East 9 because of the complexity of the combat that they had. So hopefully I'm on another podcast to talk more about that. You can also catch me on the Saltiest Gaming podcast at 9:30 Eastern on Thursdays. And there was something else I was supposed to say. Shoot. Remnant 2. If people are interested, just like Mooch, if you're interested in running apocalypse runs or nightmare runs on Remnant 2, hit me up, man. I am the vet. I am 300 hours in. I love it. I'll just show up to kill stuff. So, yeah.
No, well, you know what I do, but as I was saying to that guy 66, who's I don't know if he's still here in the chat. Shout out to that guy. I said he goes, Mooch, I'll definitely hit you up. We'll play Remnant. I go, that's fine as long as you start a new character. Let's start from the beginning. Let's run through.
You want to that's hard, man. Because there's somebody you get obsessed with your build. That's the thing. Like, I got this ring and I got this gun, so it'll gives me this,
right,
ability.
Gives you this. That's the thing. But it's hard. You got to remember, it's equally as hard as somebody who has no rings, no guns, no nothing, and you see your buddy's floating and killing half the screen, and you're just there like, you're there with like a pea shooter. So like it's like it's the other side of it. I've been on both sides. It's very difficult. Shout out to Corey Massey. Thanks to Swiss Bliss. Shout out to True Witty. He says, I got 100+ hours in Starfield and I haven't beat it yet. Shout out to the great WoolleyGamer as well. He goes, shout out to Kofi, one of the best. WoolleyGamer, absolutely. I got to second that. Kofi is just, there's people that you meet that love gaming and you can hear it in their voice. The expression that comes out, it's just, they love the hobby that we all talk about week in and week out. Singer also does that all the time too. Great guest to have here. Also the great Death Singer. Singer, honestly, 2 weeks in a row, buddy, but talking games with you and the industry and things that are going on, I love how you can bring a different dynamic to it and you still keep things extremely positive and you keep things gaming, which is just the priority. So Singer, let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mooch, for having me. Again, it's always a pleasure. I mean, I'm always happy to come if you message me.
Yes,
I got the message a bit late because
yes.
I was busy playing games, and then I was like, "Oh, look, he messaged me. Yeah, sure." But fair warning, I know I preach Steam sales, but once you go to your first winter or summer Steam sale, fair warning, it's crack. Because once you go to one, you'll look for one game. Your cart will have 10 games in it before you leave to check out. Will you play any of these games? No. But you will do it. And then you won't do it once. You'll do it twice. You'll do it 3 times. Every single year on the clock, you will be in there. You'll see the games. And you'll go, am I going to play this? No. 80% off, I'll buy it. And that's what it's going to be for the rest of your life. So, fair warning, it's crack. But you can find me everywhere, Death Singer. Great show, great panel, great topics, and see you all later.
I appreciate it. Singer, you better also let me know that next Steam sale. I want you to hit me up in the DMs and be like, Mooch, get your ass on that sale right now. I'll be right there, buddy. I want to know about those.
Winter's coming up soon. It starts in like November.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's right before Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Thank you to the great WoolleyGamer. Says, great show, Mooch. Thank you to the great Jimmy Harrison as well. He's already tweeting out on Twitter how he had a great time and a great show tonight. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. The great Worry Wart as well. Worry, we didn't know that you were going to be able to spend the whole 2 hours with us. Make it 3. Tell the family I said thank you. I mooched much of your time, but I loved every second that you were here. So, Worry, let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here tonight.
You can find me in New York at 34th and 8th on the corner. I'm part of the doo-wop group I Hate Baldur's Gate 3. We have jackets, and we sing into a metal barrel full of fire. It's pretty cool. Mondays and Sundays, I'll be there. I'm on X, not Twitter, WoolleyGamer, and YouTube, the same.
Perfect, buddy. Honestly, I love it, man. Love when you're on the show, man. You make me laugh.
You're coming down on Sunday, right, Mooch?
Absolutely. I just got to take my gloves and cut the fingers out so it's around the... I want to be around the fire.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I want to get the whole look, please. I want to be there for
I don't know if anybody gets that reference. Anybody see... You have to see Rocky, right?
Well, you have to see Rocky or any 80s movie.
Or Grease, right.
Yeah, anything. Trading Places, any of those, yes.
Oh, great movie, man.
Outstanding movies. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate you being here. And Pio, last but certainly not least, buddy, great to have you on the show tonight, buddy. I know we kept you, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it. It was 1 o'clock back then. It's 4 o'clock. This guy's going to go get breakfast. Pio, listen, I got to tell you, it's outstanding having you here. I love what you do on Twitter. You're always talking games, and you keep us entertained as well, buddy. Keep the entertainment level at that 10 level that you always do. And every Friday, even though you get to eat your food 6 hours before I do, I still do cheeseburger, a crazy, crazy burger, because I keep seeing your posts. But Pile, let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here to the wee hours of the morning with us.
Yeah, no problem at all. Today was like my day off a bit, so I took a nap when I came home, drank some energy drinks, and one energy drink, so I could be here. It was fun, definitely fun. I can't wait for Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
That's definitely after Assassin's Creed. I look forward to playing, and I guess I'll see you on a future episodes. Maybe I have to get to play them in that game or something.
Absolutely, buddy. You know that I'm going to have to definitely get you back on the show more sooner than later. I also want to give a couple shout outs to Brappy. Had to leave early. Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, Wednesdays at 9, or whenever he just feels like going live, really. And then Eric J. Shout out to Eric Jackson, my man, the voice of reason. That's at ECJAXSON on Twitter, X, however you want to call it nowadays. And the great Gamers Gamut, who had to go to work, but nonetheless, he came here first. Shout out to Gamers Gamut. That's at Gamers Gamut YT. And the great Gaming Forte, who couldn't make it tonight, but he's working. He's doing his work for our benefit. The great Gaming Forte will be on hopefully next Friday. Guys, on the way out, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please consider joining the channel. And we will be doing some Twitch streams for Halloween. I do want to do some. I wish Alan Wake 2. I do wish Alan Wake 2 came out before it did, so we could run it through the month of October. But we are going to do something creepy of some sort, some kind of jump out of your seat kind of game on Twitch. That should be a lot of fun. Nonetheless, we'll see you guys next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, same channel. Please share it out with everybody. Let people know, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy your games. Peace out.
Hey, Mooch, if you wanted a horror game, just play Redfall.